Okay, one, yeah. I think I'll put it from the side so that I can see my script also. Like that is okay. Okay, one, two. We'll make it louder, right? Later. Okay, no, I speak it softly so that. Yeah, later I talk louder. Okay, I should be okay, lah, can. Because like now if I talking, it's like macam sikit lower like okay. Yep. Ah. Test,
Test mic. Test mic. 1, 2, 3, 4. Test. Test mic. Okay, cool. Excellent. No issue.
just start with the first one. Test, test. Yeah. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to the Omnia Auditorium. Our event will be starting in just a few minutes. Please take a seat and take a moment to switch your phones to silent. We will be starting in around 5 minutes, so please do silence the phone and try not to leave your seats as yeah. A very good afternoon to all our distinguished guests, speakers and participants. My name is Avinash from Unimi's Student Representative Council, and it is my absolute pleasure to welcome you to today's Tech Talk on cybersecurity, resilience in the era of digital transformation. We are privileged to have a remarkable lineup of experts and distinguished guests with us today. Please allow me to acknowledge them. We are thrilled to hear from our four distinguished speakers. Mr. Abdul Halim Jantan, founder and CEO of Sterling Insurance Brokers. Dr. Suresh Naidu Sada Sivan, Director of Communication and Innovation, Masverse and Senior Blockchain Consultant. T.S. Hon Fun Ping, Founding and Managing Director of NetAssist. And Mr. Melbourne Lim, who leads Data Privacy Initiative at Deloitte. Our panel discussion will be led by our distinguished moderator, Mr. Tilai Raj T. Ramanathan, the CTO of BAC Education Group. We will also be hearing from Mr. Raja Singham, founding the Managing Director and Future Officer of BAC Education Group, and Mr. Anthony Raja Devados, PCOM Secretary, Chair of PCOM Academy, and the Chair of GBS Malaysia. During our MOU ceremony, the BAC Education Group and PCOM and the National Tech Association Malaysia will have a signing of certificates. Furthermore, we are deeply honored to have with us Ms. Stephanie Ng, CEO of Federation of Public Listed Companies, Ms. Alice Wong, General Manager of Financial Planning Association of Malaysia, and Mr. Gerard, Director of Industry Development PCOM. A very warm welcome to all of you. Finally, we would like to acknowledge the presence of our friends from the social media. The media, not social media. They handle the social media. Thank you for being here. In our rapidly advancing digital age, the conversation around cybersecurity has shifted. Cyber resilience is about designing systems so that even if cyber attack occurs, you can minimize their damage to your organization and ensure business continuity. In short, you move from waiting around for something to happen to ensuring that when anything happens, it's business as usual. So, whether you are here as a tech leader, business owner, or cybersecurity professional, one thing is clear: the future belongs to those who prepare today. With that, let's dive straight into our first session. To kick off our first session, we are honored to introduce our first speaker, Mr. Abdul Halim Jantan, with over 44 years of experience. He is a true expert in risk management and insurance and is known for blending technology like AI with traditional businesses. Today, he will be speaking on a very intriguing topic: cyber insurance won't save you, your security will. Please join me in giving a warm round of applause to Mr. Abdul Halim Jantan.
Thank you very much. I can see boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, your honorable guests, my fellow Muslim friends, Assalamu alaikum. It's a pleasure for me to be here, but I think more importantly is I've only got 20 minutes. So what I'd like to do is to take you through what I think is most important as we transition insurance into cybersecurity, insurance to cyber attacks, what then you will get or what else you won't get, and the pain points that you will go through. And perhaps in that little time, we can address some of the questions that you may have later. Okay? Let's get out of that one. So this is what I'm going to be talking about. I don't sing anymore, so okay. Cyber insurance won't save you, your security will. In life, ladies and gentlemen, two things you must take into account. One is that, number one, you must be a risk manager first, regardless how old you are. How old you are here, how old you will be in the future, you don't take risk, you do not have opportunities. But if you take risk without understanding it, that's when it's going to hit you or kick you in your ass. That's the last thing that you want to do. So we'll take you through, and I'll show you some concepts, some possibilities, and also some realities. Then you make your own judgment, what's good for you, as we move on with the topic, okay? The conversation, like always, in my opinion, this is most important. First is you have got to take stock. You've got to baseline yourself, and in this, what then is the new reality? As we speak today, as of this morning, if you can see pictures, basically, Tel Aviv has been leveled, just like the Palestinians. Is this the wish of anyone and everyone? The risk that we have throughout the world with all this transcension of risk being in the landscape, that's the reality that you have out there. But the reality here is, whilst it's happening out there, you've got to take note that you've got to make your own self think about it, and you have to change with it. Because out there you can't control, here you can. So you take stock, you baseline. You understand cyber risk affects everyone. That's key. Number 2 is finding your center. What then is your strategic purpose? Regardless if you're students, I know maybe 60-70% of you are already in corporates, perhaps GLCs or SMEs, but some of you are students. Does students not have a strategic purpose in life? That's your center. You have to find that strategic purpose. For me, it's for you to be able to embrace cyber security, not just cyber risk, cyber security. Then you manage the risk. And you benchmark and monitor. Never forget this. As students, what then do? You benchmark, you monitor. As officers of companies, whether you're CEOs or you're middle managers or you're lower down the line, whatever you do, you benchmark, you measure, and you monitor. That's when you improve. When you don't do that, you'll go behind, okay? And lastly, invest in the future. Your immediate role is reset your risk management mindset. That's key. If you don't, you cannot control things out there. Come, boys and girls, if you'd like to sit down so that you don't disturb anyone and everyone. Then you have your value creation. That I will leave it to you, okay? As we gravitate to this, I'll set the scene. What are the burning questions for SMEs? What scares enterprise today? Whether you're GLCs, whether you're SMEs or micro SMEs, whether you're even students, you should think about it. And in our minds, disrupted operations. What is business? What is enterprise? Whilst you want to do good, you've got a sense of purpose, you have a strategy, you also want to make money. Because you got wife, you got children, you got grandchildren. In my case, I've got 3 lovely grandchildren. You want to have harmonious love. And therefore, your business must thrive. So if it's going to be disrupted, you're going to lose money at the end of the day. That's key, okay? Number 2, you're going to be looking at theft of sensitive information. Theft of sensitive information is just not your property. You got data protection rights, which means all those information you have from someone that gives it to you, you owe the duty to make sure that it's not stolen. If it is, then you should be charged. Erode customer trust. The moment you get hit, your customer is going to say, you guys are not good enough for me. Why should I trade? Why should I do business? Why should I even bother with a company who cannot even look after themselves? That's the key. Because customers today are not customers of yesterday. It's not just about money, it's about moral compass and integrity. So the moment the customer's trust is eroded, you have reputational risk. Then legal regulatory consequences. The moment you hold people's data, you have got regulatory consequences. And the worry is, if you fail to protect this data, then you should be, perhaps, cannot be discharged from these responsibilities. There will be punitive circumstances that you will face. And lastly, costs associated with increased security measure and business continuity. For businessmen like us, business continuity is key. 10, 15 years ago, what do we talk about? We talk about customer satisfaction. When we talk about customer satisfaction, what do? We basically talk about profits. Today, we don't talk about customer satisfaction. Today, we talk about customer delight. Hence, it's total solution. No more product, no more services. It's solutioning. That's what you're looking at. Hence, in trying to do that, you provide customer delight. Therefore, the key question is, are you just going to be satisfied with what people can give you? You would want more, right? And if you want more, you expect more, okay? And therefore, business continuity must remain focused for you. Let's move on very quickly. In my opinion, this is the new reality. Cyber attacks, the search is driven by a perfect storm of factors. You're looking at, number one, rapid digitization of industries. You see this, big, small, and very large ones. Things are moving so very quickly in these areas. You're looking at increased reliance on third-party systems. It's cheaper to go down that route. If you have got to do everything yourself, number one, you're not going to be good enough. Number two, it's not going to be solutioning. Number three, it's too expensive. So you rely on third parties. And lastly, you're going to look at rise of financially motivated, highly organized cyber criminal groups. All of us here are at risk because if they see profit in you, they'll get down to whatever you do and make sure that you have to pay for your own negligence or poor security. Okay, let's move on. To me, this is important. And cyber risks don't just affect the boardroom. It's not something that we talk at the boardroom where your group chairman, your CEOs, board members worry about. No, because it hits your balance sheet and your P&L. And it happens instantaneously. You get hit today, tomorrow you pay for it. That's the key to all this. It will remain a boardroom conversation, but whilst it's a boardroom conversation, it's the money that you're going to get hit with, okay? Quickly, how then do we connect all these dots? Options. You've got cyber insurance as coverage. I'm not going to belabor the point, but I'll just show you these are available. Forensic investigation, business interruption, public relations, crisis management, data breach. You've got legal expenses and regulatory fines. You've got ransomware, extortion, payments, and all big stuff, all good stuff. But the reality is, to arrive and to achieve all these coverages, you need covenants. You need activities, or you need a little exercise that you have got to do to meet insurance requirements. Don't forget, insurance is a complex business. Insurance is just not about buying and selling. Insurance is about intellectual capital. So before they provide you with a service, they would want to price it. Before they price it, they would want to know the risk. So therefore, you take the risk together. So all these are available, but there are also pain points. Okay? What's not available? What's not covered? This is where the problem starts. I'll just quickly point it out to you, and then we'll talk through it very quickly. Okay? It won't cover pre-existing known vulnerabilities. So in short, those things that you think you can cover may not necessarily be covered because it could be known. Negligence and even breach in reporting. The way you report, you've got a timeline to things. You know, today, I find this exceptionally unacceptable. When you have got your mobile phones, when somebody sends you a message, somebody sends you an email. In the days when I was growing up, it's okay. Somebody sends you a letter. By the time you return and rewrite and return the letter, it takes a week. But if someone sends you an email at 10 o'clock, unless you're in a meeting somewhere, you should reply to him by 10:30. Otherwise, you're just incompetent. So therefore, insurance companies also see incompetence as an important feature. The way you report, the way you appreciate it, the way you treat it. Breaches due to untrained employees. So you may have employees that's untrained, isn't it? It's common in the world. You go to every restaurant today, the waiters and waitresses are not trained enough even to tell you that your fork and spoon, as well as your serviettes, are supposed to be in a proper place. But it's not there. How many people today, I just saw this just now. Maybe I'm old school. Don't take me wrong for it. My mother taught me, if she walks in the door, I open the door for her. Why? Because I'm a man. But all these are lost. Things are going in a different direction. Nobody opens doors for anyone anymore. Is that wokeism? That's something that you've got to figure out. Breaches due to untrained employees, failure to comply with policy requirements, and there's a host of policy requirements. Little details. When you buy stuff, buyers beware. It's called utmost good faith as far as the insurer is concerned. In that utmost good faith is a principle where this good faith is expected that both of us understand the contract that we buy. Okay? Hence, you're expected to know. If you don't, then it becomes a policy condition, you don't get paid. Then you blame someone. These are the realities. Lack of basic security controls, like example, no MFA or outdated software. So again, these are exclusions. So whilst you see that big stuff, let me just go back for you a little bit. Whilst you have all this big stuff, this little stuff comes in play. That's where insurance becomes very dicey. I'm from the industry. I appreciate the industry. I would like you to know a lot more before you buy stuff so you don't get into this problem. But having said that, these are some of the pain points. You must have. It's a must have, okay? 1, cybersecurity framework in place. Example, your NIST and ISO 27001 or 27001. You must have. So before you go out and buy insurances, these are stuff that you must have. Incident response and disaster recovery plans. In the first instance, you don't even know the potential. You don't even know your risk. And therefore, you need to go back in time, look at risk management framework. So that's why sometimes people say, doing business is very easy. Go get corporate capital, do crowdfunding, and start tomorrow. Excuse me, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, it takes a lot more than that. It takes you to be a bit more competent in the expectations when you do stuff. Number 3, you have ongoing training. Do you have ongoing training? If you don't, then perhaps that's a policy breach. Those are pain points. Multi-factor authentication, that is the MFA. Some of you don't even know what it is. Welcome, boys and girls. If you don't mind hurrying it up because you draw attention. Thank you. Endpoint detection and response, EDR. You're also expected to have this. Secure backup and data encryption. So all this stuff you must have. There are seats here. Okay, so these are some of the pain points. Now let's go through some of this stuff. Okay, that's 15 minutes gone. So I'll give you a bit of a picture of SME risk profile because we're talking somewhat SME here. What is insurable, what's not insurable? Look at this tablet. Oh, the color doesn't actually quite come out. So if you look at it, insurable risks, what are insurable from your standpoint are hardware damage and data losses. That's only about 35% of the risk that's covered. The uninsurable are those unquantifiable risks, which could be your reputational loss, which could be customer trust, as well as key personnel. Key personnel, that's why things like key man insurance and all that. So if you lose your CEO, your business is screwed up. You lose your key man, business is screwed up. I'm sure you people hear of the reference like rainmakers. Rainmakers are those people who bring businesses. These are key personnel. If you lose them, you don't get covered unless you buy specific insurance cover, which doesn't come in the cyber risk. Then you've got partially transferable subject to conditions, which are business interruption. Business interruption happens because of sudden unforeseen circumstances, but if it is caused by supply chain, by weather inclement, you do have a parametric model, but this is out of the scope. Then compliance and penalties. It is never the intention of the insurance policies to pay for penalties or anything that's against the law. But there are some subsections of penalties which not necessarily punitive because you breached the law, but punitive because you did not take a commercial decisions. Those can be paid for. Okay? And insurance comes after the fact. It is like an extra set of necessary clothes. Well, today the world is all about half-nakedness. If I can, because we live in a tropical climate, I'd like to be half-naked too. And of course, in some parts of the world, you can't do that. But this is the extra piece of clothes that you need. But not an umbrella. So the key is, ladies and gentlemen, insurance after the fact, which means contingency cover. So I'll show you the abstract. In my opinion, these are the abstract. Cyber insurance complements, but does not replace cyber security. So we're going back to cyber security. Okay? Number 2, underwriters assess risk based on your current security posture. So if you do not have a security posture, which includes mindset as well as validated processes, then insurance is going to put 2 things to you. Number 1, premium mahal lah. Number 2, it may not be protected. So you've got to do a lot of stuff yourself to be able to get to this position. Then you've got insurance helps you recover when all else fails. That's the contingency bit. Okay? Hence, you only look at really, really big stuff that's going to cost you to go bankrupt. Buy insurance for those. The little things that you can manage with your balance sheet, your P&L, and your security systems, don't. Okay? Because protection tools protect you daily. And this is what we're talking about, the cybersecurity. That's the sleep easy. So this is the go-between. So you can see a conflict in me. Whilst I sell and manage an insurance portfolio, what I'm telling you as participants here is there are pockets of risk, and how then do you deal with these pockets for you to benefit from? This is the solution. The game changer, very quickly. What's needed by SMEs? Hassle-free cybersecurity for SME. This is it. Number one, cost-effective security management. No need to hire in-house experts. That's what you need, because you guys are already pretty busy. Who are the SMEs? People from 5 to perhaps 250, businesses from 25 million to 50 million, or businesses from 5 million to 50 million. You can't afford many things. You can't afford a general counsel. You can't afford a HR manager. You can't even afford perhaps sometimes a chartered accountant. All these are outsourced. So you get these guys, they come in and they provide you this stuff. Number two, expert-led threat protection, which is key to you, because these risks are really complicated. So solutions that detect, hunt, and respond to cyber threats proactively. You're looking at an AI-powered risk assessment. This instantly evaluate vulnerabilities, which is very important, because when it hits you, ransomware or whatsoever, the initial cost may be small, but it will escalate. It's called the snowballing effect. In order to treat all those is an immediate detection, immediate hunting of the problem, and solve the problem. And get actionable security insights. Things that you don't know about, these guys will tell you how. Okay? And lastly, software as a service. No, sorry, that's a spelling error. No big capital layout, okay? It's capital outlay, actually. So it's for those people who's half sleeping, they don't see what it is. The words, forgive me, it's no big capital outlay rather than layout. All right? This is what you're going to see out there. I will not belabor the point. As I mentioned, these are the people you should talk to. They're out there. Go get the test done. And it will help you. It will give you some inspiration on what you need to do next. These are those things that you will see out there. Like I said, I won't belabor the point. These guys are the specialists. They'll talk to you about it. And they are associated with us because we provide an insurance protection behind them. We validate their program with the insurer so that the insurer stand in place to provide you the protection when you so require. Okay? These packages are out there available. Please go and have a chat with them. Go and do the test. Take it, because there's no experience that will not possibly give you knowledge. And all this information are important for you. And this consortium is supported by all these various people. Okay? Now, as I end this, the end game, what then should you be looking at? The key takeaways in my mind is, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, know yourself. You got to be very clear. Risk is not one size fits all. Your profile and appetite is unique and personal to you. So you know it best. Sit down, have a group huddle, have coffee, harmonize and talk about it. A lot of people think that they're too smart. I can do this on my own. No, you can't. The people who can do on their own are sometimes musicians. They're very good pianists. They're very good drummers. They're very good musicians. They do things on their own. But to make music, you need an orchestra, which means a combination of people as well. So group huddle is very important for you to do this. Number two, cyber channel. Cyber risk is now funnel for more tangible transactional risk which cannot be ignored. Before you don't see it, today it's becoming more and more tangible. You could be a target for whatever. So in my opinion, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, you receive a WhatsApp. It may be informative to you, but don't have the dirty habit of sending it to 1,000 friends. Number one, the information may not be validated. Number two, that information may hurt someone. Number three, does it make sense? You just forward somebody else's wishes because you could be part and parcel of indoctrination. This is hugely dangerous, but it's becoming a culture, okay? Number three, insurance versus protection. Predicting and safeguarding against risk is most important. Why? Because insurance protects after the fact. So you protect yourself first. Be security-minded first. Be a risk manager first. Innovation introduces risk. You must know this. The sources of risk are extremely varied. A culture of risk awareness is gold standard for resilience. And lastly, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is it. The downside management is some risks are a complete no-go for business community. And this must be protected at all costs. So in short, you evaluate your own risk, you take note of it, you create an opportunity out of this risk. Why does cars have braking system? So that you can move faster, or you can go further and faster. But it allows you that risk management possibility to brake in time. That gives you opportunity. With that, I'll just finish this. And in my mind, the greatest danger in times of turbulence, which is like now, is not the turbulence. It is to act with yesterday's logic. So stop thinking yesterday and before. It should remain in your memory. It should remain in your photograph album of all those memories. But as you move in the future, today's logic and moving forward. With that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I leave this here, okay?
Thank you, Mr. Halim, for the insightful presentation. A crucial reminder that prevention is always better than cure. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Suresh Naidu Sadasivan, and let's dive into the world of blockchain. A certified blockchain expert with over 20 years of experience, he is known for making complex topics easy to understand. He will be sharing his insights on blockchain revolution, transforming trust in the digital age. Let's welcome Dr. Suresh Naidu Sadasivan to the stage.
Can you all hear me? So I hope I could be like Abdul Halim just now. He could walk up and down. I just injured my leg 2 days ago. Fell from my stairs and then so I'm unable to walk as I love to move around and talk to you guys. So let me speak from here, all right, on stage. I don't know. I hope I'll deliver a good one for you. Because sometimes it's so difficult and I was a lecturer for almost like 12 years, in the education industry for 20 years. So we used to walk and then we'll look at everyone, have a high contact and speak to each other. So it's like made me to stagnant in one space here. Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Today we explore, I forgot about this. Okay, so today we explore about how blockchain is revolutionizing trust to strengthen cybersecurity, right? In our hyper-connected world, basically. And I'm Dr. Suresh Naidu Sadasivan, and we'll unpack how this technology turns vulnerability into resilience during digital transformation. I wish I could have been resilient enough, to protect myself, but instead I fell down. All right, okay. Now, the trust crisis. Oh, I have a thing here to read. Okay, I didn't see that. Okay. Now, the trust crisis. Okay, now what's the problem in the digital transformation? So, digital transformation moves very fast, okay? But the trust is breaking down. The problem is always the trust, right? Do you trust anyone today? Do you trust the person next to you? He could be your best friend, but do you still, a friend is different, but do you trust him? You could be, oh, you are my best friend, you are my, what do they call it nowadays? What, BFF, is it? BFF. But are you a real BFF? You are there, and then at the back you are talking something else, and then you come up with a lot of stuff and stuff like that. So, do you have the trust? That's the problem. So, digital transformation, as I said, okay, moving very fast. Now, every 39 seconds, a cyber attack is happening, okay, every 39 seconds. Centralized systems are bullseyes of the hackers. You know, I'm sure you know what is a centralized system like banks and stuff like that, okay? So they are, even governments, for example, they are the targets of these. We call it honeypot for them, right? So they are always the target. Now, when a single bank, right, or even a cloud provider or government server gets breached, millions lose faith. I'm sure you would have read somewhere, you know, oh, there's a data breach. Recently, the Google said, you know, a lot of Google, your data has been hacked. How do you feel? Once you felt like Google, you know, superb security, but now suddenly my Google information is already out. So where goes the trust? Okay? Now, so why? Because today's trust relies on all these fallible intermediaries. That's a key problem. Intermediary is always the issue, right? Now, so this isn't sustainable, basically. And as data becomes our most valuable asset, right? That's the key. Even now, data is a business, right? So, and it becomes a valuable asset. What happens? So we need a new model. So what can be the new model? It's the trust. We need the trust to be trustable. So trust is the new currency of the digital economy. You can Google this statement. You won't find anywhere because I coined it. Okay, so trust is the new currency of the digital economy, all right? But if it is somewhere else, then I didn't know that it was there. But I am the one who really, you know, I swear, you know, I created it. So maybe, you know, you have the trust issue with me also now, all right? Whether it really happened or not. Now, so there's trust, right? We are looking at the trust issue here. So, blockchain 101. Now, I'm not here to lecture you about what is blockchain and all about, because normally my session on blockchain will be like 3 to 4 hours just to explain to you what is blockchain all about and stuff like that, right? And here is just a very brief information. So blockchain isn't about crypto, right? Because a lot of people, when you go and ask them, for them is, what is blockchain? Cryptocurrency. But what is blockchain? Bitcoin. Because once upon a time, you know, Bitcoin was used, you know, to scam people and stuff. So when you mention that blockchain is the technology behind Bitcoin, so everybody has this notion, trust issue on blockchain, because why? They got cheated, right? And then they go and spread the news that you don't trust this, you know, these fellas are trying to con you here, okay? So it's not just about crypto, it's a distributed ledger, okay, as you see there, shared immutable record of transaction, right? Imagine a Google document that's shared with thousands, where every edit is permanent and verified by the group. Okay, so that's what you mean by that. That's blockchain basically, you know, distributed ledger. Now, second, decentralization. So what do you mean by that? It means no single entity controls it. Okay, no one owns it basically. Now, cryptography seals data like an unbreakable lock. Okay, so that is decentralization. Now, now, critically, it is not a magic fix. You know, we have the cryptography here. It's a tool for transparency and security. All right. Now, how does that work? Normally, when you say, if you can see the picture of the blocks there, the blocks store the data. The chains will link them. The network validates, and simple yet it's revolutionary. Now, I'll give you a very simple example. Let's say you take a book, a storybook, for example, right? The storybook will have a title outside, then you have the forward, or, you know, then you have what are the pages are in your book, and then followed by your story. Then you have page number 1, page number 2, page number 3, page number 4, and so on until maybe page 100. Now, imagine someone tests 2 pages from there. Will you be able to read the book or not? Hello? Yes, no? I can have a no, you know, in the sound here. So nobody will be able to read the book, okay? And then you will know that something is wrong with the book when you don't see the pages, correct? That's how blockchain works also. Now, every data is, imagine it is on a page, right? Every new data goes on a new page. When you try to remove one page, there's no linkage. And people can identify that there is something is wrong with it. That's how blockchain works. So when you start putting all the data inside, and somebody try to hack one page or one block from in it, you'll be able to know that something is wrong. And the information is always permanent there. All right? So that is why you need blockchain to put in your data. Even your certificates can be on blockchain and so on. Okay? All right, now, next. So, how blockchain reinvents trust? Okay, we are going back into the trust issue. Now, blockchain, all this trust so far now is on the institutions, correct? So, blockchain now shift trust from institutions to code. This is what is happening now, okay? From institution, you are transferring your trust to a code, right? Now, instead of trusting a bank or regulator, you trust maths and consensus rules, which is in your this side here, okay? Now, immutability, right? As you see there, immutability. Once the data is recorded, no one or not even the admin can alter it. They cannot change it. Once you put it in, that's it. It's there, okay? You can add on new data to overcome the earlier data, but then you can still go back and check your earlier data, right? So you can, not even the admin can alter. Now, think like tamper-proof audit logs, okay? So that's how it goes. Now, on transparency, permitted parties see the full history, but no more hidden charges or no more hidden changes. That means you can view, but you cannot change, all right? For example, Bitcoin ledger, everybody will be able to see it, but nobody will be able to change it, or you won't even know who is actually sending or receiving the money. So consensus, hackers can't forge entries unless they control more than 51% of the network, right? Now, it's near impossible in public chain, especially if you take a Bitcoin chain, right? If, let's say, hackers wants to control or destroy Bitcoin, they need to control all over the world. The hackers have to join together all over the world. 51% of them, that means they have to control 51% of the Bitcoin chain, okay? And they have to hack it within 10 minutes because it changes every 10 minutes. So you need to hack within that 10-minute span of time. And it will cost them billions of US dollar. Now, where do you think hackers will go and hack the system? Or they would rather prefer to go and hack the government server or companies, you know, where you see there's no cybersecurity there, then they will go and try to hack because it's cheaper. The moment they hack, they get the money, ransom, okay? They can't do that for the public chains. So this creates a trustless environment, all right? That's the idea. That's where the blockchain reinvents trust. Even if you don't know partners, right, the system keeps you secure. You may not know who is who, but then the system is secure. So that's the trustless environment where adversaries can't corrupt the system. So cybersecurity resilience, blockchain's superpowers, right? So we are going into Marvel universe or something like that, so to give you the superpower. All right, now, so how does this build cyber resilience, right? So there are 4 game changers here. Actually, there could be many, but I've just collected these 4 here. All right, first one's secure supply chain. They can track pharmaceutical from factory to pharmacy, for example, right? Now, IBM Food Trust, they have done that to prevent contamination. I think now they have reduced the outbreak of investigation from weeks to seconds now with the use of blockchain. Then immutable logs, as you see here, right? Critical infrastructure like power grids, they use blockchain to detect tampering in real time, right? For example, mass chain. Mass chain is a chain that is built from the scratch by Masvers ourselves, all right? So through mass chain, we have even done a POC with Lembaga Zakat Selangor, all right? I'm sure you have heard about zakat payments, right? Okay, zakat payment is in Islamic terms, okay? You have zakat payment, like a tax in Islam. So what happens, currently, the middle people are called wakalah, right? And then the receivers are referred as asnaf. So the problem now is all the records are kept in normal Excel sheets. So the problem with Lembaga Zakat Selangor is they are unable to identify whether this wakalah has actually sent the money that they got as a return to be given out to asnaf or not. Or the people who have paid their zakat, they don't know whether my zakat that I'm paying, is it actually reaching out to the asnaf or not. So these are the problems. So we have created a system for Lembaga Zakat Selangor POC, whereby now with our mass chain, on our chain, all right, we call it e-wakalah system, whereby the Lembaga Zakat Selangor will be able to observe the movement of the money from the wakala to the asnaf. All right? And then the Lembaga Zakat will actually control the entire fund of the wakala, and they can make sure that the money is received completely by the asnaf. And then also, they will be able to identify whether the asnaf, so-called asnaf, is the real asnaf or not. All right? Because it could be someone who this middle person know. All right? And they may not be the real poor. Okay? So this is one that through the immutable logging we have created for them. All right? Then we have a decentralized identity. Now, when you talk about identity, now, some of you are wearing your tags or from your companies or whatever. Now, how are you going to convince me you are actually from this company? Can you convince me? You might say, hey, I'm working here. Can you convince me, or can you prove that you are actually working for this company? How are you going to prove that? Digital ID. Like in MassFirst, we do have our digital ID. We'll just show you, you just scan. It will take to our server to prove when this person joined and whether he's a permanent staff or not, or whether he's a staff here or not. But can you prove that? So now, if you want to prove that, come and talk to us, all right? So, but what we have done is, this is what digital ID that you can do it, all right? So there's no central honeypot for hackers. So decentralized, users own their digital ID, no central database to hack, and Microsoft ION stops credentials theft also, even they have created one. Now, talking about smart contracts, auto-pay cyber insurance claims if breach conditions are met, no delays and no dispute. I think Abdul Halim was mentioning just now about insurance and stuff, okay? So all these can be in. So this isn't just a theory. It's actively shutting down attack vectors today, okay? So some of the real-world case study. Now, let's make this concise on global shipping especially, all right? Now, TradeLens have got MES and then IBM blockchain. They have utilized to digitize their bill of lading, real-time tracking, and cyber cryptographic verification. Okay? At this point of time, the problem is supply chain delay due to paperwork is 80%, right? With the normal paperwork, right? Now, with this solution, like for example, blockchain, our mass chain, we have our own blockchain cert.my, which is on our own chain, which is called mass chain, and then this chain is created by ourselves, and we are not vendor of anyone, right? It's our own, created in Malaysia itself for Malaysians, so that's why we name it as mass chain, and we call ourselves as MassFirst, because we are Malaysians, that's the idea. Now, so the solution, we also have the blockchain cert. Similarly, they have others for the transactions. Now, it is 70% faster document processing with usage of blockchain, right? And the result is considered near zero, right, using blockchain, right? So when paperwork becomes unhackable digital trails, resilience will skyrocket. Okay, that's our main topic of today, okay, the resilience, right? Now, challenges and limitations. Now, but blockchain isn't a silver bullet, right? So I'm not saying, oh, everything and anything that you want to put, you use blockchain. No, that's not what we are saying. It's not that's why I say it's not a silver bullet. It has got their own challenges and limitations also. Now, for scalability, for example, Bitcoin handles about 7 transactions per second compared to Visa that handles 24,000 transactions per second, right? So we need faster consensus, right? And integration, legacy systems hate decentralization. So we prefer to have more hybrid models like blockchain plus traditional. It will often work best, right? And for regulation, GDPR. Anyone know what is GDPR? It's General Data it's General Data Protection Regulation by the European side, all right? So that means what they are saying is, for them, when you have a data by a company or anything, let's say you work in a company and then you use a social media and you don't want your data to be there, you have the right, it's your personal data protection. You have the right to ask them to eliminate or destroy the data or remove the data from there. This is GDPR. But then whereas you talk about blockchain immutability, any data that you put on blockchain is immutable. You cannot change or you cannot remove. So that is the problem here. Okay, one side they say I can remove, but blockchain say no, you cannot remove. You can still go back to your data there. All right, so that is a problem here. And regulation, there is regulation. Now, new risk, especially when it comes to 51% attacks, as I mentioned just now. For example, smart contract bugs and so on, like $60 million attack, a recent DAO hack, happened, about $60 million, all right? So what's the lesson? You should have a hybrid one. So must chain, for example, ours is layer 1, proof of authority, public permission, blockchain. I give you a scenario of a public library. You are a member of a public library. Everyone can enter the library. But then in the library, there is a special room where only specific members will be able to enter. That's how our chain works. You can decide to be public. You can make it into private. Okay, so it's a combined one, all right? So using our must chain. And then also it's not, our fee is fixed. We don't follow the market where, it goes up and down. We have a fixed fee there, all right? And it is pay per use, our fee, all right? Now, so that is challenges and limitations. Now, what are the future trends? Going to finish shortly here. Now, so where's next? So where are we moving next? Okay, future. So zero trust architectures, right? Now, blockchain verifies every device or user before granting access, right? That means that's what blockchain will do. Everything. Now it's not verifiable. Everything is not verifiable, but blockchain will do that. No more trusted internal networks. You don't trust anyone. It's a trustless system. Quantum resistance. New chains like QAN platform, they use quantum safe crypto to survive future attacks. AI plus blockchain, validate training data to prevent AI manipulation. Imagine blockchain audited deepfake detectors. So you can train together with blockchain, just like a police, okay, AI police together with blockchain, which will be able to identify deepfakes. Now a lot of deepfakes, right? That means somebody, using AI, using your face, and then they start talking to everyone. You can actually try to eliminate that. So AI synergy, of course, we have DeFi, decentralized finance security here. So call to action. So what can you do, right? I'm sure a lot of you are from organizations, students, and all. All right. Now, start small, right? Pilot blockchain for vendor identity checks or compliance log, all right? If you own a company, maybe you can start having blockchain for your data identity, for example. If you have registration papers or anything that you are giving out in papers, start utilizing blockchain certificates, for example. That's why you start small, all right? And then it's not going to be very expensive, right? Like, for example, in MassChain and Massverse, we have a system where if you are a Web2 company without blockchain, we can help you to onboard into blockchain without having extra expenses to pay for tech guys or anything, all right? It's just an API call away, all right? That simple. Train teams, like understand consensus models and key management risks. That means you can start reading, there's a lot of Google information is out there. And then you can champion transparency also, use blockchain to prove integrity to customers. That means it can be an additional value for your company. When you go and confirm to your customers, like, look, this is our product. If they can have a venue to verify that, for example. So show them that data is unhackable, all right? So remember, blockchain isn't disrupting trust. It's basically rebuilding it, all right? And it is the digital age that's the ultimate resilience. So that's what I mentioned here. It is not about disrupting trust. It's about rebuilding it, all right? So this is what you have to do that. So now, okay, done. So you can, the QR is there. Our link tree is there for Massverse. Please scan, and then you can go into our products and system, or you can contact us anytime. We have our booth outside there, so you can talk to our people. If any of the ideas which I mentioned just now click to you for your organization and all that, do come and meet us, or you can communicate with us through there. Okay, so thank you. So let's discuss how we can turn trust from vulnerability into your strategic advantage. All right? Thank you so much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Suresh, for demystifying blockchain and showing us its potential to build trust in our digital world. Truly fascinating. Our third speaker is a veteran in the cybersecurity industry. Please welcome T.S. Hon Fun Ping with over 27 years of experience. He is the driving force behind NetAssist, a trusted partner for many organizations. Today, his topic is regulatory evolution, understanding the new compliance landscape. Please put your hands together for T.S. Hon Fun Ping.
Good afternoon, everybody. I get to walk around, and I'll talk very fast because I only 20 minutes. Actually, I'll go straight to the point. Last year, mid of last year, there's a bill called Cybersecurity Bill 2024. Some people call it Bill 854. Inside that, actually, I have summarized 5 facts. Let's go straight to the fact. It's been passed in the mid of last year. It was focusing on 11 national critical information infrastructure entities. And there are 2 types of license that one has to get in order to deliver cyber security services. And as well as there are altogether 4 duties, 7 directives, and 1 code of practices, which I'm going to go through very detailed in the later part. But first thing is that everybody will start asking, what's NCI? It stands for National Critical Information Infrastructure. What does it mean? That means that any software, hardware, network, where anything disrupted to that particular system will cause national unrest, public safety, economy, social security, so all the health issue, anything to do with national security, if anything disrupted to the system, that will cause such issue, that is called NCII. So you can start look back. Is there any system of mine that when there's something wrong with that will cause such an effect? And this act will actually will be effective regardless of whether the data center, the server is hosted in Malaysia or in outside. Because some people say, hey, I'm hosted in public cloud, which is in US. Does that apply to me? Yes, it will. And the most important thing is that these are the 11 sectors that will be affected. And I go into the NACSA website. These are the details, because NACSA will appoint each in this different sector, they are sector lead. Some of the sector, they have more than 1 sector lead, where they will just have to manage the compliance for NCII law. Well, most important thing is that this law will be affecting everybody in that NCII, including your director, pengarah, secretary, the executive, as well as any potential partner who actually who are linked with that. So this law become effective because now, last time many cybersecurity companies like us, actually we have the issue where we have difficulty to convince the board of directors, hey, you have got to spend some budget into it because it's going to be detrimental. But to them, it's like, no, I want to make money. And these are costs of business, but not now. Any non-compliance will cost you imprisonment and penalty in terms of monetary. And there's, like I said just now, there are altogether 4 duties. First duty is the duty to inform. First thing is that you have to actually, once you were told that you are an NCII, you have to actually start looking into the system to see whether, do I have such a system? If yes, you need to inform them within 30 days. Or if you have those systems that you change it, you still need to inform them within 7 days. Failing to do so, 2 years imprisonment and $100,000 of penalty. Second duty is to, there will be a set of code of practices issued by different sector lead. You need to understand, read it, and comply with it. Of course, you may argue that I am already a cybersecurity, I invested a lot in cybersecurity, I have ISO 27000, I have NIST. So say, fine, get a clearance from them, because whatever your ISO 27000 may not be applicable to theirs, because maybe for those people who understand ISO 27000, probably your scope, the definition of scope may be in an area where there's nothing to do with your NCII. So that is actually can be 2 different things, which is why even though your company has compliance for certain scope for ISO 27000, that doesn't automatically get you comply with NCII. So you need to get a clearance from there. Of course, if you are better code of practices, you have been doing this, get a clearance from them, check with them. Third duty is the duty to conduct cyber security risk assessment. Every year you have to conduct your risk assessment, and every 2 years you have to submit the audit report. within 30 days after you you finish the audit. Failing to do so, $200,000 of penalty and 3 years of imprisonment to the director. Another duty is duty to give notification on the cybersecurity incident. The moment you get to know that you being compromised, within 6 hours, you have to inform them. You have to inform your respective sector lead, and after that, within 14 days, you have to give a full detailed report. Failing to do so will render you $500,000 of penalty or 10 years of imprisonment, which I'm going to go to a detail later in the other part. What are the information within 6 hours? The moment you get to know that, hey, I'm being attacked, you have to actually be able to, within 6 hours, submit this information, report it, including the incident type. Is it a ransomware? Is it a DDoS? Is it a data leakage? How serious is it? Severity. Is it causing you to stop your production for 3 days? Or is it just another reboot will do? So the severity of it. And the date and time that how it happened, and how do you discover it? But within 14 days, more detail has to be given, including what are the machines that are being affected, how many servers, how many machines, and the particular of the actor, the threat actor. Is it through phishing? Is it through some kind of intruder from your firewalls? And what are the information being leaked out? The artifact of the information, the incident that related to it that has been compromised. The artifact related to the incident that you have. And how does that come in? Was it through some phishing? Or someone actually compromised your vulnerability and came in? Or maybe it's a compromised credential through a legitimate VPN login? So these are information you need to come out and report. And also what are the impact? How the impact of the incident. And eventually, have you done a BCP? What's the action taken? Have you make a police report? So these are some of the things that I extracted from NACSA, not composed by me. There are altogether 7 directives since then. And I'm going to go through some of these to actually let you know what's happening. Number 1, first directive is to give notification, to inform and communicate with the respective sector lead. You actually, the organization, number 1, need to actually appoint within 21 days, 1 director level and 2 working level to be the liaison between the organization with your sector lead. And then if there's another change, say for example, the guy you appointed suddenly resigned, they say, hey, within 7 days, you need to change another guy. Within 7 days, you need to inform them. This is the example of the form that you need to actually fill out. You can actually download it from the NACSA. So the information about the name, the IC, the guy, the responsibility, all the particular about the person. All right? And okay, you probably ask, how do I report? In fact, go to NACSA, they have a place for you to say, this is Pelaburan incident. The place that you can report your incident. That gives you some idea about how to report the incident. In the detail about like who is the reporter, the email, the phone, the type of incident, the severity, the description of the incidents, the domain name, the system name, the IP addresses, the domain name servers, hosts that affected, all those are detailed that you need to actually get to know. And then so that you can be able to give accurate reports. Yeah. Second directive is to, because this is important, whatever information that you submitted, someone has to be liable and must be accurate, which is why government also want to make sure that the one who do all this incident report, they are liable. That's why they also come up with another directive that whoever who does the cyber security services for penetration tests and security operations center, they must obtain the license. The one who hold the license, the director and the company, is also liable if their information is not accurate. So which is why commercial time. NetAssist is the first batch of company who get the license for penembusan, which is the penetration test, and then the SOC, Security Operations Center. What it means is that myself, because I'm the director of the company, will be liable if my information is not accurate, or the things that I'm doing, my SOP is not is not compliance. That will make sure that whoever who do the job, they need to do it carefully. All right. Third directive is to inform that will inform you. The directive is to actually instruct the respective sector lead to send this letter to the National Critical Information Infrastructure Entity. So if you receive a letter, the sample letter is like this. It looks something like that. Tengok ceritanya kamu sekarang dikategoriskan sebagai NCII. Once you were told that being an NCII, there's things that you must do. Like you have to actually start doing your assessment to list down what are the infrastructure name you have. Why do they want to do it? They want all this information about your servers, your name, your design, who is the stakeholder, what's the impact when something gone wrong with the servers, so that all this information can be submitted to NCII, to NACSA, and NACSA will be from there determine, is this particular asset that you're submitting, this particular critical information infrastructure, is it critical or not? So from there they'll determine whether are you being fall under, these are the server you need to actually protect, follow the NC or the 854. Fourth directive is that you have to do your self-assessment within 2 weeks after receiving the letter just now. And there are 6 domains. This information is not again created by me, but later is actually, you can actually go into NACSA. They have the template to guide you along to do a self-assessment as well. Things about like, sorry, I should go back here. Okay, this is the letter, sorry. And in that self-assessment, in fact, they systematically put it in a way that make you easy to understand. For those people who understand cybersecurity, you look at it, it looks very familiar to you. Why? Because it looks like an NIST domain, right? So it's like 6 domains: govern, identify, protect, respond, recover. And from these 6 domains, further elaborate into 15 categories, from the security policy objective to the risk management, to the access control, to eventually the business continuity management. So along there. And from there, further derive into 33 type of element, which is actually is a further detail from there, where you can see cybersecurity policies, cybersecurity audit, event management, log management, business continuity plan, all those things in the detail. If you actually go into their website, you download, there is actually a Excel spreadsheet like this. It's quite simple, whereby under the domain of govern, they will ask a question like, do you have a cybersecurity policy? Do you enforce it? Do you practice it? Do you audit it? Do you review your policy? Yes, no, all the questions. With that, eventually they'll come to a conclusion for all these 33 type of categories. It will give you an overall maturity scoring. That will tell you that whether you are at the intermediate level, advanced level, or basic level. By submitting this, the government will be able to know where are you in terms of the maturity. Don't get too worried about it, because the template is there, it's prepared by NACSA. You just have to go through it. But this assessment itself will actually give you the idea. What do you need to do in the compliance? Which I will talk about it also a little bit in the code of practices. The 5th directive is that to determine the scope, process, and reporting of the cybersecurity assessment. So when you are being informed that you are NCI entity, then you need to actually do a risk assessment. So you need to actually, number 1, list down all the assets that you have, and then list down all the potential risks to that particular asset. What are the impact, what are the frequency, the risk, the scoring. How likely this happen, and when it happen, what is the impact, how serious it will be. Then from there, you need to actually then submit your risk treatment plan. Do you do mitigation of risk, avoidance of risk, or transfer of risk by getting some cyber insurance? So these are some of the different risk mitigation plans that you put in place. Yeah, and this is the last directive, the latest directive, where they came out with the code of practices to all the sector leads, and altogether there are 18 categories. You can again go in there. You can see that the area that you need to follow of the code of practices, including the governance and the leadership, the organization development, your cybersecurity assurance, your physical security, your access control. All these are different things that you need to put in place for the code of practices. It looks quite similar for those people who implement ISO 27000. Yeah, And but everybody talk about Act 854. But actually, there is at the same time, about the same time, last year, there's another act called Act 709. In another way is the Personal Data Protection Act 2.0. Why not many people talk about it at the first? Because cybersecurity bill was was a new thing, so everybody worried about it and everybody looked into it. And PDPA actually first came out in year 2010. One of the challenges during that time in 2010 when they came out with the law, there is no such thing called mandatory disclosure. Hence, if you ask me, a lot of people like to ask this question, how serious is cyber attack in Malaysia? There is no official data, because when someone gets compromised and data leak out, there is no obligation to make them report. But the revise of Personal Data Protection Act 2.0, there is a few things added inside. One of the key things that added inside, which make them now, since then, become effective, is that it is mandatory to report. Failing to do so will actually render you into, again, penalty and imprisonment. So that means that last time I used to have some customer who say, hey, I got this data leakage. They will ask me what to do. I said, oh, of course, as a professional, I will advise you to report it to the Commission of Data Protection and police report, because you have to do something. They say, what if I don't report? Because they understand also a little bit about that, whereby if you do not exercise due care to secure personal identifiable information, you are liable. And they're scared that they do not do enough to secure data. But the problem is that if I don't report, nobody will know. Then I will be, if I report, then I admit that there's a data leakage. So hence, I have seen cases, personal encounter, because as a cybersecurity company, every now and then we got requests from this kind of company to help them to rescue. So roughly, these are the arguments we always talk about. But now the new law will be effective because it will be wrong if you do not report. So then you start to see a lot of data statistics come out. Then you become more accurate moving forward. There's a few changes inside here since 2010 until now, after 14, 15 years. They actually now amended into including biometric data to be personal identifiable information. Last time we don't. And then also they actually up their penalty to 1 million and 3 years imprisonment. We are foreseeing this law will now become finally effective because it's affecting the director. It is, and then the penalty is painful enough. So which are the companies that will be affected? In general, so long as you collect, you store, you process personal identifiable information, you must comply, and you need to get the certification of registration, which is a few hundred ringgit from the Commission of Data Protection. From there, then you actually are allowed to process personal identifiable information. So in a nutshell, these are the 13 type of company, from the transport, the money lender, the insurance, of course, and the private university, and also, of course, the utility, real estate. Those people are collecting personal identifiable information. Yeah, and in section 133 under this law, specifically say the pengarah, ketua pegawai eksekutif CEO, ketua pegawai operasi pengurusan setiausaha atau or any pertubuhan within that pertubuhan, within that organization, will be liable. So that also make the law become effective, because then the last time as a cybersecurity practitioner, we always have challenge to actually convince the director to get us the budget. But now, in fact, I would like to advise the rest of you who actually do this job in future. Whatever it is, you may think that your boss will be rejecting your proposal to get the budget to protect, but you do your duty. Submit it. Even eventually they don't approve it and things happen. But you have shown your due care, you have exercised your duty to ask for budget to do the security. Hence, you are okay to exercise your due care. I have some questions. I have some people, some customer of mine who are board of director. They will say, he was commenting, nowadays it's not a good idea to be on board of directors, because becoming a board of director, there's so many duty and you'll be imprisonment. But I am not the one who, I'm not the executive who do the job. I can't be the one who doing the two-factor authentication, checking the password, and verifying updating the antivirus. No, I am the board director. So, but if those people are not doing a job and you leak out the data, I will be liable, which is not unfair. I think I would resign from there. Not true. That's why nowadays there are certain organizations, including us, where actually we start organizing certain talk to talk about the duty as a board of director. As a board of director, you actually you exercise your duty as a director to ask the right question, to give instruction, to allocate the necessary budget, and to exercise to execute the strategy to protect the personal data. So things still happen, data still leak out, but you have the board of director meeting minute down. They say that you have instructed and do so. It's just that things still happen. You are actually okay because you have carried the duty as a board of director to instruct people to secure the data. You exhibit you exercise your due care for cybersecurity. You exercise due care to protect the data. Hence, you're okay. So this is quite important because there are questions from my HR department. Hey, I am not IT department. When they leak out the data, they are not doing a good job, but I'm liable. So what do? I said, no, as a HR manager, you exercise your duty to inform, to ask them to do the necessary thing, and you exercise your duty to make sure that your two-factor authentication, you don't simply share your data, don't simply share your password, and your password must be actually must be complicated enough. So those are the things. It's your duty. The rest, of course, eventually come to investigation and see what's the issue. So the big question is that a lot of people say, okay, now what do I do? Okay, let's go back to the basic. Let's not get too complicated. First thing is that, do your staff know there is such thing? Because they don't know, then they will neglect, and then things will happen. We have seen many cases. It's the negligence of the user who caused the company into trouble, despite of millions of dollars of budget put into your next-gen AI firewall, whatever things. But all it takes is just one ignorant user doing something carelessly. And number two is that, do you have a cybersecurity policy? When was the last time you reviewed? Some people have got a policy, but the policy was actually being constructed maybe 2-3 years ago. But the bill come in, and you need to actually revise and see whether is my policy in line with what the government want. Update the policy, and after you have the policy in place, then you use the policy and review back and say, okay, now is my people, my process, and my technology are doing accordingly to what to the policy. What do? You do audit. You do knowledge training to your people to make sure that they follow that. So yeah, of course you have to do audit and make sure they are comply. With that, I hope I am just in time to actually share with you how to navigating about the law of cybersecurity in this new era. Thank you.
Thank you, T.S. Horn, for guiding us through the complex world of compliance. Your insights are incredibly valuable for any organization today. For our final speaker, we are delighted to have Mr. Melbourne Lim. He leads Data Privacy Initiative at Deloitte and has a unique background in law, cybersecurity, and technology. He will present on Beyond Compliance, a blueprint for building a privacy program. Let's give a big round of applause for Mr. Melbourne Lim.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everyone's still with me here today. It's a long session, I can completely understand. So today, I think you guys have seen the topic, so I'll be focusing a bit more on the privacy element. And I think from the rest of the panelists, speakers that you have seen, it does ties back, right? Be it from a blockchain standpoint, from a cyber insurance, right? Personal data has a role to play. Data breach happens on a day-to-day basis, right? So on that note, just to warm everyone up, and let's just do a quick quiz, right, to bring everyone together. Okay, so let me ask, right, who do you think, or which country do you think is the first country in ASEAN to actually have a privacy law in place, right? I'll give 3 options, right? We'll start with first, Malaysia. All right, who thinks it's Malaysia? Can I have a raise of hands? Okay, we have a few here, okay. Second, Singapore. Right, who do you think it's Singapore is the one that starts, that's the first? All right, any further? Okay. Last, let's go with Thailand. right? Anyone that thinks that Thailand is the first one that has a PDPA law in place? No. Okay. Okay, the answer is actually Malaysia. Yes. So there isn't much things that Malaysia is faster, but yes, Malaysia beat Singapore when it comes to PDPA law. We were indeed the first one in ASEAN to actually have a PDPA law in place, right? So with that, I'll break the session down today in 3 key phases. 1, I'll talk about the history, the landscape of the privacy landscape in Malaysia. What's the past, what's the present, and what's the future as well. Then I'll go on to talk about the impact, right? We have been hearing a lot about the new revised PDPA law, right? How is it going to impact your organization from people, process, and technology? And lastly, I'll share a bit more in terms of, how can we build our privacy program in the face of all the revised law and all the stringent requirements that we are seeing. Right, to begin with, like mentioned earlier, we were the first in ASEAN to have a PDPA law in place. And that goes back to 2010, right? So a PDPA 2010 was released, and in 2013, it was finally enforced, and we were given 3 months of a grace period. From there on, right, it has been there for a very long time, but I know the impression that people have during that whole period was that enforcement may not be that strong. It may be often seen as a paper tiger, right? So what happened is that in 2019, they did a study. The regulator here did a study. They then see, how can we then improve the PDPA law, right? What are the things that we do well and what are the things that we can improve on? And in 2020, they have then come out with a public consultation paper. In it, they highlighted 22 key amendments, right? And subsequently, in 2022, 5 of the key 22 amendments were shortlisted. And these 5 are the one that is translated to the recent PDPA, the Personal Data Protection Amendment Act. And with it, in 2024, as we can see in late 2024, the law was finally passed, right? And I will share a bit more later in terms of what is this new law about, right? What are the key changes as well? And in 2025, this year, what they have done is, right, with the 5 amendments, they have then put an enforcement date in each of the amendment, right? So each of it have different enforcement dates, right? But at the end goal of it, the messaging here is that they are getting stricter in enforcement, right? They want to make a difference this time around. Just to share as well, before the law was passed, our team was quite fortunate. We were actually invited to a couple of their workshop sessions to discuss on the potential amendment, right? We then benchmark it with some of the regulations in ASEAN and global as well. So happy to share with you the end outcome of this whole PDPA amendment, right? So let me just illustrate. So the first amendment you can see here is on the appointment of a DPO, right? I think some of you may have heard about this. It's essentially the data protection officer. Layman terms, probably the head of privacy, okay? Person who is going to be in charge of a privacy matter in your organization, right? Maybe I'll just take a quick show of hands today. Is there any DPO in the room today here? Anyone? Yes. Okay, I think I just see 1. Okay, never mind. So it's going to be a role that we'll be seeing more and more happening, right? And it's a good thing for the industry as well, as we have seen more and more privacy practitioners, right? So what's this requirement about? So companies which meets the threshold, for example, if you processed or collect more than 20,000 data subject, you need to hire a DPO, right? If you process or collect more than 10,000 sensitive data or financial data, you will also need to hire. Or lastly, if you do any regular monitoring on your data subject, likewise, you need to hire one, appoint one DPO. And enforcement date is 1st of June. And good news, the portal was also the registration, right? You also need to register with the regulator. And the portal of registration was just up yesterday. So to the new DPO there, so it's time. You can then now register with the regulator already. Okay, next amendment, we talk about mandatory data breach notification. I think Mr. Horn earlier has also mentioned a bit, right? So now it's a requirement to notify both the regulator as well as data subject, right? People who are affected by the breach. Companies now has an obligation to do so. And there is a timeline that you need to meet as well, right? For certain industry, like what Mr. Horn mentioned, there's a Cybersecurity Act. And you also need to notify NACSA in the event of breach, right? So what's going to happen is that the timeline is slightly different, but obligation remains the same. You need to notify all of them. You can't cherry pick which institute you want to notify. You will still need to notify all of them if you are required to do so. The third one, right to data portability. I'm not sure if some of you are aware here today, but initially, under the existing PDPA law, there is actually a set of rights given to all of us here in the room, right? Given to you as an employee, as a student, right, as a customer of any services, right? For example, the right to access. Today, you can write in to your company and say that as an employee, can you provide me the data that you collected on me? Can you share with me the employment records that you collect on mine, right? And this right to data portability, it's a new right that has been added on top of the existing ones, right? What it means is that, right, let me use a telco example, right? If today I'm a Cellcom Digi customer and I want to change my line, I'll go to Maxis and then I request, can you port over all of my line and data, right? Same thing. This is exactly that right. But what's different is that it works cross-industry. Using the employment example again, today, say I'm a staff of Cellcom Digi. I left, I resigned, and I move on to Maxis. Oh, sorry, should I say other industry, right? Any of the banks. And then I write in, can you transfer me a copy of my employment records? They must do, right? So what happens is that it works cross-industry now, right? Not just within your industry. You can ask for the transfer from one company to the other. And so all of these three, enforcement date, just to reiterate, is 1st of June. And then we have the fourth one, cross-border data transfer. So previously in PDPA law, if you want to transfer data outside of Malaysia, right, you actually are allowed to do so if you transfer to countries which has been whitelisted. But unfortunately, this whitelist was never released until today, right? So what they have done is that they have departed from there. They no longer have this so-called whitelist, blacklist or whatever not. They say that now it is for you as the organization to evaluate the country that you're transferring. Do they have similar law like the PDPA, right? Or do the recipient country offer the level of protection as required by the PDPA law, right? And last but not least, the Fifth Amendment is it's more for data processor, meaning more on third-party vendors that process personal data on behalf of you, right? They can be your cloud service provider, right, for example. They now have an obligation, they are required by the law to comply with the new Amendment Act. In particular, the security principle, right, where they need to have the relevant physical, administration, or technical measures in place to protect the data that you share with third party. And by the third party not doing so, they will be subjected to penalties and fines as well, right? The law applies to them. And these are essentially the 5 amendments. But just the last one here, it's more terminology change, right? They changed some of the terminologies. I think Mr. Horn also shared a bit as well. So biometric data is now a sensitive data. Deceased individual, people who has passed away, are now no longer protected under PDPA law as well. and bringing all your attention to the fines and penalties, right? I think that has been gathering all the attention today. So, they have increased the fine significantly, right? Previously, PDPA law, the maximum fine was 300,000. But now, as you see, it's 1 million. And then imprisonment. Previously was 2 years, and now they have increased it up to 3 years. So our team here has done a very good job as well. Credits to them. So we have compiled a list of fines and imprisonment, right, based on whatever obligations or whatever not that you did not comply with, right? So I think to reiterate, it's better to act now than later, right, for all of this required PDPA requirement, right? Based on my interaction and some of my conversation with them is, whatever you see here today, amendments, yes, they are actually just the first wave. There will be more amendments coming up soon, right, in 2026/2027. And that's where there'll be more requirements, there'll be higher penalties out of it. So very, very important to start today and not wait till tomorrow. And when we talk about penalties for a breach or whatever not, right, yes, money, financial penalties can be recovered at the end of the day. But there are certain things that, as a result of a data breach, for example, there are certain things that may not be that easily recoverable. For example, we talk about reputational damage. How often do we see on the news now, right? Or XYZ company suffer a data breach of how many millions of data, right? You have so many infamous cases, right? From Meta to even bring back home Malaysia, we have AirAsia. Not so long ago, Bursa, right? And those reputational damage are something that will stay on with everyone. Then, legal liabilities, right? You may have legal liabilities on contracting, right, that you owe to your data processors, right? Third-party contract agreements that will arise, that will give rise to legal liability if you did not comply with. And lastly, business disruption, right? If anything goes wrong, touch wood, they are breach, it would affect your business, right? Just now we heard from ransomware, for example. It does affect your business, and so for certain case, if you are, say, a leading industry, right? For example, DBS Bank in Singapore, right? When a data breach that happened to them, not data breach, but when they have downtime for just 1 hour, they were heavily penalized because they are the leading FSI in Singapore, right? There is a certain expectation set, and of course with that, the larger business customer base you have, the more disruption it's going to bring. And that pretty much sums up what I have for the PDPA law, right? And next, let me go dive in a bit deeper. So now we know what the law is about. Then the next question is that, okay, how is it going to affect my organization, right? What should I do next? Let me sum it up in 3 key aspects: people, process, and technology. People, like mentioned just now, we have the requirement to appoint a DPO, right? And that means that there's going to be role changes, new roles. Some people would suddenly today be appointed as a DPO. Some would be as a privacy champion. And even, in fact, the law allows outsourcing of DPO, right? You don't need to appoint internally. You can actually outsource that function to a third-party service provider, right? And to share as well, Deloitte is probably one of the few big fours in the market that do offer outsourcing services, right? So it is a trend that we are seeing moving as well. And we talked about people. We talk about culture, training, and awareness as well, right? With the new law, very, very important as well that there will be a change in culture, cultivating a privacy-first, privacy-focused culture. And then on top of that, training. I know today, probably some of you will have undergone a typical generic privacy training. But the question is then to ask, is that sufficient? Right? For some of the roles that today that may process more personal data, like HR, customer service, right? They touch a lot of data. Should they then have a more tailored role-based training, right? That's on people. Then we talk about process and technology. These two, they are interconnected as well, right? With the new law, just now we spoke about data transfer, right? Then there needs to be we need to then revisit how we have been doing it in the past, how we have been handling data, right? From throughout the data life cycle, from how you collect to how you dispose, process, retain it subsequently, right? And with that, right, to illustrate some of the examples, just now we talked about data portability, right? Which is a new set of right on data subject. So what you can do is that you also then need to check, currently, can I, as a company, satisfied that request? If suddenly today, one individual write in for that. And bear in mind, there is a time period, a time limit for it. You are required to actually meet the request for 21 days, right? And failure to do so, of course, you then actually be subjected to whatever penalties it is, right? So it is a very, very, I would say, increasing issue, because we see that more and more individuals today in Malaysia, they are, especially the younger generations, they are more aware and conscious about their data, right? I know us Malaysian, we have a tendency to give our data, right? If there's any free goods, I'll sign up for it, right? I'll give all the data they need. But we are seeing from more and more younger audience being more conscious, right? And with that technology, right, as you can see, more stringent requirements, be it from Cybersecurity Act or the PDPA law that you're seeing. Now it's time to reconsider whether the current security measures are sufficient, right? Do we then need to look at some of the privacy technology solutions to help ease some of the compliance requirement? Do we need to relook into our data security tool to check if they are actually relevant and they are secure enough today, right? And I think just now I saw one of the slides, we talked about quantum computing, right? So to check if that's your technology of cryptography, is it quantum provable, right? So these are some of the few considerations from the people process technology. And to go to the elephant in the room today then, right, is, with all of this requirement, I have a lot of clients who ask me, so where do I start, right? And if today you are an organization that have already embarked on this journey years ago when PDPA law is it's there, it's enforced, right? Your starting point may be different from those who are starting today because of the new law. But the general components of privacy program doesn't change, right? So this is a program that is based on our Deloitte proprietary framework, actually. So it's a framework that we applied to all of our organizations across Southeast Asia. So these are essentially, if I were to sum up, these are the key components that organizations should be looking at, right? From the start, we talk about governance and accountability. So just now, DPO appointment, step 1, to appoint a DPO if I meet the threshold. But that's an easy thing to do. I just need to have a head count, a name for it. But what's different, what's challenging is then to come up with the governance structure, right? To understand who is to do what. Because a DPO can't do everything, right? So you need to then structure who is responsible for what duty and come up with the RASI metrics, right? For example, there's a requirement that a DPO need to have knowledge on IT and data security. But today, some of the DPOs, if you are coming from a legal and compliance background, you may not have the experience. So have a RASI metrics in there to then say that, oh, look, for this one, DPO will just have an oversight function, but I have my CISO or the IT office to then look at the IT and data security aspects. Then next, to the left, all right, we have privacy risk management. Very, very important. Privacy risk should be integrated into your wider enterprise risk management framework, right? You don't want it to run on a separate risk methodology. I've seen clients, right, that they will have 2 different risk metrics, right? On their DPI and the risk assessment for privacy, they go with a 3x3 matrix, but the enterprise one is a 4x4, right? The integration of it, they can't. So very, very important to have it integrated. Then bottom, just now we talked about training awareness, right? To ensure that whatever all of this new requirement, new process that you're developing, you are actually educating or empower your stakeholders about it, right? Because data doesn't just exist in the privacy team. It exists everywhere in the organization, right? And very, very important that they are aware in terms of what to do, how to protect, like what previously we shared, what not to share, what to share, how do I protect the data. More often than not, like what I always like to say, human is the weakest link for cybersecurity, right? And hence, training is something that we should not be omitting about it. Next, compliance monitoring. Some organizations today, they would probably have a set of policies, right? But how do I then ensure whatever is the policy is translated to all my business units on the ground? To ensure that they are practicing all the privacy measures that I want them to practice. And that's where we talk about doing a compliance monitoring exercise, ensuring that people on the ground, the BU, are actually complying, are actually putting in the privacy measures as prescribed based on your policies and framework. And let me just dive in. What's the component within it? First, at the top, highest, business objective. It needs to be governed by a business objective as well. It needs to tie in with your business strategy. And then, with that, you translate to a privacy strategy, right? Ensuring what sort of visions are we going, what sort of approach are we going when we talk about protecting personal data. And then, you'd have the privacy framework component in it. So inside, there's actually, if I were to summarize, 4 key components. 1, having the policies and procedure, right? Just to also share, we just, my team and I, we just completed one of our engagement with one of our investment holding clients in Malaysia, right? They started with nothing, right? They did not have anything in PDPA, for PDPA 2010. So what we have done is that we have developed all the documents for them from scratch. And in total, we developed approximately up to 14 to 15 documents just to comply with the PDPA law. So it is a very, very huge exercise, and I think it's being understated today. A lot of companies will probably approach privacy with just having one internal policy, and then, they will just stop there. So very, very important, right? Policy and procedures should not be overlooked as well. Then, to my next point in privacy framework, we have data inventory and mapping. So what is this about? It is essentially a recording log that actually documents all the data that you collect throughout the life cycle. Meaning, what data you collect, where you collect it from, why are you collecting it, where are you storing it, are you transferring it outside of your company and outside of Malaysia, and lastly, how do you retain that data and disposing it. So that is that data inventory. And with that, translate it to a data flow map, which will have the pictorial visualization of it. To my third box, risk and impact assessment. Right. So if you have seen or you have caught up with the news, Malaysia is going to have a guideline on data protection impact assessment. It is a form of risk assessment that you do before you actually deploy any systems, any applications, right? Even before you engage a third-party vendor, it's a risk assessment. So what it means is that it's something that you need to evaluate to identify the privacy risk before you actually launch anything. And that assessment is one of the key components here. And lastly, technology and controls. Self-explanatory. So it is essentially the technology and controls that you have in place to actually govern your framework, to support your framework, and translate your framework. And to the core, the overarching core principle, I would say, is the privacy by design. Something that is often overlooked today. I think a lot of companies today, when they talk about privacy, when they approach privacy, it's more ad hoc, right? Privacy by design, what it means is that we need to embed all the privacy principles at the outset. We want to make sure privacy is not an afterthought, right? And to incorporate it into some of your current process, like your change management process, SDLC process, right? And there is actually 7 key principles in it. I wouldn't bore you with all the 7 key principles, but essentially what it means is to really have it being considered, have privacy considered at the early stages. Typing a bit, right? So sometimes you will often hear privacy by design, like mentioned earlier. Then there's another side of the coin, the flip side, privacy by default. What it means is actually privacy by default is actually a direct application of privacy by design. It is, I would say, an outcome of it. Essentially ensuring your settings, your configuration are all set to user-orientated, right? For example, you don't use things like consent wall, right? It's like cookie wall, right? You don't leverage on dark patterns when obtaining consent. You make sure customers or users are actually having an opt-in mechanism where they can check actively, right, before you collect their data, right? So these are some of the examples of what privacy by default is. And for me to sum it up, right, to my last slide today, right, it's about what sort of benefit, why should we consider privacy by design and by default? In summary, there are 5 key pointers. 1, competitive advantage, right? It is a form of approach that you can take to actually help to use privacy as a brand differentiator. Then, regulatory compliance. Because you are considering privacy at early stages, naturally, it will be easier for your regulatory compliance journey. And that will translate to minimizing your legal and reputational, and lastly, your financial risk as well. And for the last side one, it's, of course, if I would have all my privacy consideration and all the components being built at the very start, I would then have an enhanced data protection landscape, and lastly, right, all the ethical considerations would then also be built into it. Right. So that's pretty much it for today, for my side. And just to also share as well is that if any of you are interested in any of anything privacy related, data security related, AI governance related, feel free to reach out. I think we do have a booth outside as well, right? And thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Lim, for providing a practical blueprint for building a robust privacy program. That was extremely insightful. Ladies and gentlemen, we now move on to a very special part of our agenda, the MOU signing ceremony between BAC Education Group and PICOM. This momentous occasion marks the official launch of the Veritas MBA with a tech focus and exclusive program for PICOM members, proudly brought to you by Veritas University College and PICOM, the National Tech Association of Malaysia. To begin the ceremony, we are honored to have a short speech by Mr. Rajasingham. Please welcome him to the stage.
So you can take that down. We start off with that. Yeah, supposed to give a short speech. Some of those things don't exist when it comes to me. So good afternoon. I want to thank all of you for coming here today, especially our speakers in Melbourne, and enlightening everyone here present on cybersecurity and some of the issues and challenges, but always the opportunities for those in the industry and for people to enter into the industry. This is sort of the right time and that's our best program now in Unimai. It is the most popular and the fastest growing course we have at Unimai. It's actually the cybersecurity program. So having said that, we are here today to celebrate a new partnership, and very good to see old friends from different past, gathered here today. And PICOM is been well known to me from the 90s. They've been 40 years and now 2,000 organizations, and they have been the voice for the entire industry, whether it comes from the government, academia, the private sector, the companies, the giants, the small startups, everyone. PCOM actually has been out in front representing the entire industry and all its different facets. And one of the things a while ago we sat and thought about it to say, how good would it be if we took our IT university, Unimi, and also Veritas, which is our online distance learning university, and actually did a tie-up with PCOM for PCOM's members to give, it'll be a great marriage, especially with PCOM's academy as well, and the courses they're looking at to help take the industry to the next level. Nothing is going to train people or get people ready for the next, phase in development, because things are moving so quickly. Whether you're looking at AI, you're looking at cybersecurity, you're looking at privacy, you're looking at every single area is moving rapidly. And there's a need for academia to work closely with industry and organizations like PCOM who can actually bring that whole cross-section of different sections in the industry. Their sectoral approach also, like women in tech, cybersecurity, AI, is making sure that they're actually addressing all the different parts of the industry and giving attention with their approach to looking at things by sectors. So I really want to thank PCOM, Mr. Anthony Raja, Mr. Gerald, CEO, I couldn't make it today, but Mr. Ong, and for actually giving us the opportunity. The actual tie-up is between PCOM and BAC Education, and with that tie-up, it gives access to all the universities within the group. Unimi is our tech university, and we run courses right up from foundation, right up to PhD, in areas like game development, IT, cybersecurity, AI, the whole range. It also gives access to Veritas with the MBA programs, and in the MBA programs, we now have things like MBA in digital transformation, in AI, in cybersecurity, in these areas, so you can actually look at specialized MBAs for the tech sector. Of course, there will be other people in these companies, which are PCOM members, who may be more interested in doing something like corporate law or governance or sustainability, ESG. Those options are also available. And then, of course, BAC, Brookfield Asia College itself, IACT, all of these schools are within the group, and HRD Academy. We're looking forward to a long, fruitful, and mutually rewarding win-win partnership with PCOM. And I want to thank PCOM again for doing this on an afternoon, Wednesday afternoon, to come here and enlighten all of us. I do apologize, I came in late. We have 200 events that run every year because of the school. So we have talks on cybersecurity, on law, on AI, on media, on digital marketing. And because I do have to do some work, so they normally will ask me to appear for all the 200 events. So I do tell them that sometimes I have to go and earn some money, and we very much have heads. Prof. Sarwani is here, who's the VC of Unimi. Mr. Tille runs the whole, the industry side on the IT. So we've got very capable people in all these different institutions who actually run the institution. Which is why I know that y'all are in safe hands, which is why I can come in late. So having said a lot more than I'm supposed to say, I want to thank everyone for coming. I want to thank PCOM for this opportunity, and look forward to seeing Mr. Anthony Raja up on stage here in a bit. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rajasingham. Next, we are honored to invite Mr. Anthony Raja Devadas to the stage for his speech.
Good afternoon, everyone. By the way, Mr. Rajasingham is a good friend, and this is one of his shortest speeches. He's an amazing orator, and a very good friend and partner to PCOM. So I think today marks a significant culmination of these relationships and friendships coming together to better create a collaboration of education. And I think the best way to bring it is when you have the National Tech and Digital Association coming together with one of the best universities and education institutions in the country. So Mr. Rajesh Singham, founder, managing director, and chief future officer of BAC Education Group. Our CEO is not here, our chairman, Mr. Alex Liu, on behalf of him. Mr. Thilai Raj, the chief technology officer, BAC. Mr. Madhu, lead collaboration partnership base. Good afternoon, everyone. I prepared a speech. Actually, Gerard helped me prepare. And I realized after seeing Mr. Rajesh Singham, maybe we don't need a speech, right? Okay, so let me share with you something, right? From an experience point of view, how we are bringing this together. Firstly, how many of you know PCOM? Okay, fairly good number of hands. Okay, there's a reason why I'm asking, because we are talking about the digital program partnership with business management. It's a 40-year-old association. By the way, we have our own building, right, PCOM, which has got 10 chapters. And one of them is the PCOM Academy. And basically what we do is help upskill and reskill talent. So we had all the debates going back and forth on, I think earlier the speakers were speaking about PDPA, cybersecurity, blockchain, right? And I missed your session, sir. I remember we met at the Naga National together on reinsurance and insurance. All of this, when you bring it together, the best way to build sustainability is through an education partner. We are an industry. We represent demand. Where is supply coming from? Supply is coming from BAC across all the universities and all the brands that you have. And I think the ideas of different group members have come together to make this happen. Because we could be industry and stay away and do our own work and just continue to make money. Or we look at the 2,000 members, which Mr. Rajesh was talking about, and say, how many people do you employ in a year? And then you realize they employ 24,000 people a year. Just this group alone. And then you look at what is the contribution to the industry. 25% of the economy is contributed by the digital economy. And we represent 80% of that from PCOM. So it makes sense to continue to establish this partnership. And coming back to the milestone today to launch a program together with BAC on the MBA for the digital world in Malaysia. Now, this is applicable for Malaysians and as well as for every student who comes across, right? Because one of the things I realize when I travel across the regions is that digital and tech is all pervasive, right? It's not an industry, it's across industries. So today, which is the most favorite acronym in Malaysia? Is it the afternoon or no coffee or something like that? AI, right? AI, apart from the PMX name, acronym, AI is every topic. So every single industry, every single business, you want to add the word AI to it, right? So I don't know whether you had a chance to hear my 11 o'clock BFM interview this morning. If you have, you just check it out. There's something called shadow AI. In the past, in the cloud tech side, we used to call it shadow IT. But now there's something called shadow AI. And what it means is, I just part this knowledge and then close the speech. You're talking about the urgency in Malaysia, far higher than APAC. It's a survey done by Microsoft and worldwide. The urgency to adopt and use AI. You call it generative, right, AI. You call it perception AI, right? And then you're talking about other features of AI coming in. It's just the beginning of this journey across all industries. So particularly the reason why I'm highlighting this, the hunger and the drive for Malaysians is far higher than every other country in APAC to learn and apply new technology. So much so, we are faster than how companies are adopting AI. So which means, isn't it better to ensure you have the right program, right knowledge, and right experience, so you follow the guidelines and ensure that you apply the right knowledge in the place you go to work for. By the way, 97% look for jobs, 93% look for jobs, and 7% start their own businesses. So this is Malaysia's estimate of startups and employment. So if you're in either of the group, you're welcome to consider this and be part of this program. Why does this program matter? I just wanted to highlight a little bit. With BAC Education Group, with the universities, Unimai as well as Veritas, and the industry, we go with the PCOM endorsement to the industry. People in PCOM as well as others will know that you have gone through a rigorous process of understanding digital tech and applying that to businesses. Let's try to bring both together with this opportunity and ensure that this MBA stands out as part of the journey that you are looking for. Yeah? Now, value to the PCOM members, as Mr. Rajasingham said, we have 2,000 companies who are members, who are hiring 24,000 people a year, and we are talking about the whole industry. Yeah? Employment base is probably more than 1 million in the industry. So helps you upskill as well. If you're professionals, upskill yourself. If you're students, consider this program as your second degree, right, as part of MBA. All right, so with that, I take this opportunity firstly to all PCOM members and the industry, and to Mr. Rajasingham, Mr. Tillai, and Mr. Madhu, on behalf of the BSc Education Group and PCOM, the National Tech Association. I would like to thank you for collaborating with us to establish this partnership, and we look forward to many more to come. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Mr. Anthony, for your impactful words. And now for the main event of the ceremony, the official MOU exchange. I would like to invite Mr. Rajasinghe and Mr. Anthony Raja Devadas onto the stage, please.
Mr. Tillai, Mr. Madhu, Prof, just come up, please.
Please remain on stage, Mr. Rajasingam, Mr. Anthony, and Mr. Tilai. We would like to invite our four distinguished speakers, Mr. Abdul Halim Jantan, Dr. Suresh Naidu Sadasivan, T.S. Hon Fun Ping, and Mr. Melbourne Lim to join them on stage for the significant moment and a group photo opportunity. Congratulations to all parties on this momentous occasion. Mr. Abdul Halim, Dr. Suresh, T.S. Hon, Mr. Melbourne Lim, and Mr. Tilaraj, please remain on stage as we transition to our panel session. We've had an incredible lineup of talks. Now it's time for our interactive panel discussion. And to lead this exciting discussion, please allow me to reintroduce our distinguished moderator, Mr. Tilaraj T. Ramanathan. Mr. Tilaraj, the CTO of BAC Education Group, brings over 35 years of global tech leadership and was recognized among Asia's top 50 technologies in 2019. Previously, he led 500 researchers as CTO at Mimos. Mr. Tilai also contributes to innovation as a board member of Digital Penang and an adjunct professor at Unimai and Taylor's University School of Medicine. He holds a degree in engineering from IIT Madras. I now hand over the sessions to our moderator, Mr. Tilai Raj.
Yeah, thank you, Avinash. So I think we heard an interesting session today. The four speakers, I'm sure a lot of you, it's a very dry topic. I usually fall asleep, but it was very interesting hearing from Hon and Inche Halim about cybersecurity, and then blockchain from Suresh and our student, ex-student of BAC, Melbourne. Interesting name, right, Melbourne? Yeah. So anyway, so I just wanted to start with Inche Halim. You talked about cyber insurance. I got a few questions here. Some questions were sent to me by WhatsApp, so I just got someone to type it on for me and give it to me. I'm just going to quickly go through and go to the question. If any other questions other than what I have from the audience, you could take the mics. There are mics being distributed. You could use the mics and ask directly the panel on any questions you have. I think the first question I had was that how must cyber insurance evolve to become a strategic enabler of better security practices rather than just a financial fallback? Inche Halim, that's a question to you from one of the audience.
Sure. Thank you very much. Well, as we all settle down and reflect on what we've learned this afternoon, cyber risk or cyber insurance must transcend first with risk management, like in everything else you do as well. The idea is to be able to envisage what your risks are. So in a business, it's a bit more difficult because business have got complex verticals in what you do. So our advice for insurances, our advice for dealing with stuff of this nature is to identify your sector first. So always sectorial analysis. So for example, if you're in renewable energy, what are you heading for? You're heading for energy transition. Hence, you're looking at what particular sector. If it is renewable, so be it, let it be renewable. If it's non-renewable, if you're going into, for example, thermal plants, combined cycle plants, the risks are all different. But having said that, the risk management framework are the same. Just like this young man, when Deloitte and all the other big fours does their framework in terms of risk assessment, the basic concepts are the same. So start there first. Start with risk management. then look at your own risk, match your risk with the exposure that you potentially have. But in order to manage pricing, you must also identify your own appetite. Hence, understand things like risk retention, understand things like, your own NTA, for example. Go back to your books, have a look at your balance sheet, your P&L. What is it in terms of corporate capital that you can afford? Start there and build the risk and the profile. So that's how we usually do this. Of course, sometimes it's easier said than done, but with AI, don't forget, a lot of this stuff, you don't even have to read. It's in ChatGPT. It actually tells you what to do. But having said that, the difference is they offer you a methodology. What they don't offer you is an intellectual capital, that intelligence. That separates men from the boys, not only when you're in the toilet. Okay? So in business, that's what we look at first, framework. Identify your own exposure. Meet it with your corporate requirements in terms of your risk appetite and risk potential. Then you transfer the risk. Without having to say too much. Also appoint the right consultants if you do have potential big stuff that you want to do. If it is a startup, if it is an SME, you can work with ChatGPT. The moment you go GLC and beyond, you're going to need proper people. The Big Fours and the rest that comes. There's another name that you should know. It's called Sterling. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Halim. So I think the part which I wanted to add on is you mentioned about risk assessments the same across sectors. It's similar, but the issue is now with all this AI coming about, all this new technology like ChatGPT and all the various tools, does it change the way you do risk assessments today?
Somewhat yes, somewhat yes. Yes, as in when you're dealing with human capital, there's always the danger of you can have 10,000 machines, you only need one protocol. You have 10 staff from one professor to somebody else down the line, you perhaps may have, or you may require an entire framework, because that's how people are. So when we deal with a risk, the dynamism of risk comes in 3 parts. Rather than 2, it comes in 3 parts. One is exposure. So in terms of human capital, with exposure, 2 things comes out. One is moral compass, the other one is your own integrity, which means if it is a human, then you got to consider human rights first, his or her rights. Then you transcend it into what he or she needs. But in terms of you're looking at cooperation with assets, liabilities, and all that, potentially it may not be loss of lives. But what drives the business? It's also living mechanism or living people. So hence you put human rights first. And as you approach with intelligence from AI and intelligence from human, the framework are the same. So we always look at risk management. With risk management, we transcend it into the possibilities of sectorial analysis. But except that, you've got some businesses which are simple. There are others that's rocket science. So when it's rocket science businesses, you need a lot more technical competencies. In technical competencies, you always break it up into 3. We always look at 1, the commercial aspect, 2, the operational aspect, then the technical aspect. Don't look at the technical aspect first. You always go back and commercial aspect first, because that's what you want to protect. Whatever you do technically, you want to commercial benefits. Then the operational regime, which is human related. That's basically it, sir.
So money first.
Money first, yes. Money first. Not that because we're driven by money, but without money, you guys won't be here as well, right?
Okay.
So that drives it, and that's important to protect, because that's your single most important currency that keeps you going.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Suresh, I think you mentioned about Web3 decentralized systems.
Okay.
And you mentioned typically our banks today are centralized systems. Our telcos are centralized systems. So now with all this new decentralization, how will cybersecurity frameworks change? I mean, this question is for you and I think Honla, because I'm sure everything is all very centralized, right? So you put a firewall, you put some, some IDS, you put some IPS, something in place that's protected. But not decentralized, it could be a server sitting somewhere else, could be sitting, you don't know where it is. So how do you re-architect this whole thing? It's going to cost us a lots of money, or, how do you handle this because of this Web 3.0 and decentralized?
Okay, talking about the standard cybersecurity system, you just imagine a castle, imagine a big, huge castle. with the huge walls, there's like, streams outside and with a breach, drawbridge and stuff like that. Now, cybersecurity is like that, and then to protect the people inside and the houses and everything, those are inside. So this is a general idea of cybersecurity to protection. Now, if let's say the attackers come and attack and then they manage to cut into through the drawbridge, right? The moment they penetrate, finish. The entire thing is gone, all right? It's just like our what I call it as a password purgatory. Why is like, now we standard usage of passwords is like, you use your pet cat's name or pet dog's name, and then you put some numbers at the back, and then you put it one don't know what do you call password and all that.
Sounds like my password.
Oh, I got it. So if anything happens to that password, okay, end of the day, the idea is it is not about you to verify yourself, is for you to verify through the password whether that's you or not. That means your identity is not about you, but it's more to the password that you have created. If it is not that password, then it is not you. So what about you? Who are you trusting, my password or me? Okay, so that's the problem there. So coming back to the castle idea, Web3, how Web3 is coming in, it is like this. Just now I mentioned about a castle, cybersecurity, one castle protecting the entire space. Imagine there are castles inside the castle. Castles after castles after castles, where every time you want to penetrate that castle, you need to go and break the drawbridge inside. So that means each and every data or each and every identity inside is going to be a castle using Web3. That is the idea of Web3. Okay, so that means you are enhancing the security by using blockchain through, that is Web3 is all about. Okay, so, and I don't think so it's going to cost a lot of money, because if let's say you're going to build something from scratch, then maybe, yes, you have to, inject millions and millions, and then you have to do that. But if you already have a system, a chain, for example, like we have mass chain, when you come and talk to us, we will be able to give you the ideas and identify. As mentioned just now, our idea is to bring the Web 2 to Web 3. Very simple, Web 2, what is Web 2? Is the current situation now where you are using all the Instagram and everything, and the data is not yours. All right, all the photos that you are uploading, the copyright belongs to the company. They use your data to make money. All right, whereas Web3, by using blockchain, you are going to own your data. That's the idea of Web3 is all about. So now how you are going to protect yourself? So trustless, that's where the trustless system come in. Instead of telling trust everyone, it's like our system is don't trust anyone. Okay, that means as you enter each and every one, you check. That's how this blockchain will work together with the cybersecurity. Okay, and costly, it's not going to cost you actually. It's just a normal, minimal amount that is going to have, especially when you already have a system in hand. Yep.
But I think the one point you showed in your slide is the latency or the number of transactions per second you showed.
Yes, correct.
So now you have many of these castles and smaller castles.
Yes.
By the time I verify all the castles,
yes,
our Gen Zs here, a lot of the students, right, will say, oh yeah, forget it.
No, okay, so that is an example.
So how, I'm just wondering, how will all this, banks and, because we are very impatient people today.
Right,
we get
right.
our phone, we click a button, and within 3 seconds, if it doesn't come, I say, oh, hang, or servers down. So how will this Web3 decentralized system, blockchain, overcome this issue? Because it may not be today, but long term. If not, you'll never adapt, because we all getting very impatient, right? We want things done within seconds, authenticated within seconds, make a transaction within seconds. So how do you think we should handle it going forward with blockchain?
Okay, so just now the Bitcoin is just one example.
Yes.
So there are a lot of companies or blockchain-based companies are already out where they can actually do a lot of speed transaction already. Okay. So you just have to identify what is the most important one for you, and you just engage with them. Like mass chain, we can also do hundreds of transactions per second also. So the system is already out there. So what I highlighted was just the challenges that you have. That means every time a blockchain-based company, they have to coming up with their transaction or coding, they have to make sure that they look into this area also. Okay. Because as you mentioned, Gen Z, their transaction, they don't want to see like those days internet in the 90s when we use is like you waited 5 minutes for one information to come out, but you were happy about it.
Yeah,
Because yes, internet we are using first time. But now, if the same thing is going to happen, you're not going to use that service anymore really. You'll be like cursing and all that.
Melbourne because
Yeah. Why is it hyper slow and everything? Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Suresh.
Welcome.
Mr. Horn, I mean, interesting thing about cybersecurity. You showed a lot of things about the act, about imprisonment, how you need to go to prison for 3 years. I don't know, all kind of things. You scared us away with all those big fines. But now with AI coming about, I'm just wondering whether systems can self-heal, because you got all this AI and your ChatGPT and God knows all these AI systems. And will that help reduce cyber risks? Help reduce, I don't need to buy insurance from Michi Halim anymore. I can just, use AI to fix my problems, So I'm just thinking how you handle it, because you're handling industry, and there's a lot of AI coming, and it's moving so fast. So I'm just trying to get your advice. How do we move about with all this AI technologies now coming in, and they're using it to attack, they're also using it to cure, you know what I mean? It can be negative and positive. So what's your view on this?
Let's talk about the good side first. There are still shortage of cybersecurity talent, which is why AI become a very good technology for us to quickly help to identify some of these risks and do the necessary things. You see, every time we collect all those logs and then we try to make sense of it and then start to come up with the necessary alerts and advice to our customer, things already happening a few minutes or maybe the damage is already done. So with the AI, we collected all those information and we told to AI, say, hey, AI, tell me what is it all about. I need to quickly respond. So AI with their learning model will be able to help us to respond. So the good side about it is that now I no longer need to worry, keep on thinking about what is the rules to detections, because human need to keep on understand what is the new pattern of attack and then hence come up with the rules to detect and then give the necessary advice. Now they call it the native cybersecurity, native AI for cybersecurity, which they will just tell the AI, hi, now you are the detection engine. I got this bunch of data, the logs and whatever information. I give it to you. Tell me what is it all about and tell me what to do. So that in a click of a few seconds, I'll be able to get information rather than those days we hire security analysts and analysts get all those logs and then they build rules and to churn out to actually do all the data crunching and then amend the rules and to come up with the more accurate detection and then give the advice. That actually takes some time. Now, in fact, AI attack is driven, the attack is driven by AI. So now we need to use AI to detect the AI attack.
Using AI to detect the AI.
Use AI to detect AI. Because we need the AI to know what is the other AI thinking so that she can do something about it. So moving into future, this is what I believe. Especially people like us, we're actually hiring a lot of security analysts. But now the question that we ask is that other than all the cyber Q chain, all the whatever MITRE attack framework, all those things that you need to learn to be a good security analyst, we also ask them, do you know how to use AI? Because I don't want you to go through all those whatever framework and then go and determine attack yourself. I want you to actually quickly train the AI model and to help you to detect and quickly respond to the customers. Yeah. So that is what the good and the bad about AI.
So does it mean we need less people now to do, because you're using AI to fight AI, so do you need less people in the industry? We can just use AI and a few AI experts and then we reduce number of people in cybersecurity?
We still need people. There's a shift of requirement. We now need to look for, whenever interview, say, hey, show me how do you deploy AI to speed up your detections. Okay. So which is why the shift of knowledge learned is no longer understand. It's still you need to know what is attack looks like, what is vulnerability, how exploitation. But now, other than knowing this, you need to know, okay, now I know all this vulnerability, all this exploitation technique. How do I throw it to the learning model and then come up with and then verify that the answer is the right answer?
So you got to have multidiscipline now, not just cybersecurity.
It has to cross-platform, cross-discipline.
Okay, that's good. Thank you. Coming back to Mr. Melbourne, I mean, I remember, we met some time back, and you mentioned something. You mentioned DPO, right? Then you scared everybody, said by June 1st was the deadline to have a DPO. A lot of people don't even know that you have to have a DPO. Even this past June 1st now, it's going to be July, and we're still wondering. So I hear there's something called DPO as a service. And I saw that from your slides the last time. So maybe you can explain, because we know software as a service, infrastructure as a service, now you have DPO as a service. It looks like a dope as a service. So what exactly does it mean? And then how do we trust that company to be DPO as a service? Because it's some human behind it, right? So I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
Great question. Because to be honest, I've been dealing with this question quite close to a day-to-day basis. Right, so earlier mentioned, we talk about the requirement of a DPO, right? And one thing from a market standpoint is that there isn't enough privacy practitioners, right? And just now, as what Mr. Halim was talking about, it's about budget as well, right? Do I want to then, the consideration for a company is that, do I appoint someone internally? Do I hire outside? Or do I then outsource it to another third-party service provider, right? And it's a very, very relevant question, and all of this runs up to the board and senior management, right? And when we come to that, right, so that's where the DPO as a service comes into play, which is the outsourcing DPO, right? And like mentioned earlier as well, so we are indeed one of the providers in the market for DPO as a service, right? How it works, it's that companies would come to us, we would then structure, what are the support that you need, right? Because is it everything, right? Or is it something that you can cover existingly, but you just need additional support, right? And how it works is the same as how an internal DPO or whatever will work, right? We do help support them, be it from developing the privacy framework, doing assessment, giving training, helping them operationalize whatever is the policy to their current BU practice, right? It's no different. It's just that what it works is that we work on a retainer basis. Okay? So generally, that's the key difference. But one thing for a fact is that something Deloitte and my team would always is pushing to do when it comes to outsourcing DPO or DPO as a service. It's really to uplift the people in the organization. It's so that they can be the DPO one day. They can be the privacy practitioners one day. And that the dependency on us is getting lesser and lesser as the day goes by, right? So that's, I would say, a quick summary of what a DPO as a service is.
So who bears all the penalties? I don't know, I go to the cyber insurance guy and tell him pay the penalties, or take the, go to prison on my behalf? Or, I mean, how do you handle it? Because DPO is a service. I'm not the DPO. I'm BAC. I give it to Deloitte as the DPO as a service.
Yep.
But then if something leaks, then I have to pay penalties. Do I claim it from cyber insurance if I buy cyber insurance from Encik Halim, or do I have to charge it to Deloitte, or how does that work?
So it goes to the level of support that you're asking for, right? So if, say you're outsourcing DPO, you just say that, you just carve it out to say that, I just need support in training awareness for you as a DPO. So if anything goes wrong in the training, yeah, it'll be out on us. There's indemnity on us as well. But if it's falling outside, it's about how you govern your privacy, then if anything goes wrong on that aspects, then it'll be on you, right? So it goes back to what you have contractors for, what's the level of support, what's our involvement. From there, that's how we then segregate who are the liabilities, who should be bearing the costs and penalties or whatever not.
So from the insurance perspective, assume we take a cyber insurance for data leakage, and then we lose data out, and then we lose all the data out. I lose all your names out, phone numbers, email, blah, blah, blah. Then you come and sue us. So can I claim insurance for that reputation damage, or can I claim insurance when I have to pay penalties to the government? How does that cyber insurance work? Because I think everyone is very confused about how to really work. We know how to claim and have a car accident, I know how to claim it, but data loss, how to handle it,
Predominantly, or actually traditionally, the cyber insurance covers three parts. One is your hardware, two is your data. The uninsurable part are things like reputational risk or loss of trust, including things like business interruption. So given the point, maybe we just take a step backwards. What I wanted to ask him earlier was, by 1st of June, all those of us who runs business, who keeps data more than 20,000 or 10,000, you said, right? We're supposed to have a data protection officer. And that's by law required. So if we don't have them by 1st of June, does companies get fined? Okay. So therefore, going back to your question, what then can be insured under the cyber risk is your hardware and your software, which is your data protection. The services that you must render, given the fact that you are governed by these laws of privacy, if you don't have a data protection officer, then the government comes after you, that one insurance cannot pay.
Okay.
That's breach in law.
Okay.
So any breach in law, then we can't do that. So we can only provide you protection for hardware and your software, which then can be breached by perhaps, like Mr. Horn said just now, artificial intelligence, or Mr. A, who wants to procure perhaps, you know, we're all competitors somewhat. So there could be perhaps not like an industrial espionage, but he steals my clients. I've got a database of, say, doctors, and somebody else wants that list of doctors and pinch it from me, then that's data loss.
Okay.
And if that data loss is because I do not have a security system, then the authorities will come after me. That
Okay,
can be
okay.
partly insured,
Okay.
but not when you breach the law.
Okay. Okay. Understood.
It's as best as I can say it, you know.
Okay.
But beyond that, one more question. So for example, if by December, Sterling still don't have a data protection officer, what happens then?
You go to jail.
Yeah.
I don't know. You got to ask.
So my view is I still don't see, because here it's in transition. We collect data because, you know, we've got database of insured that we provide services to, but we are not custodian of this data. It goes to the insurance company because they issue the policies. But having said that, because the data comes via me or via Sterling, we sign the PDPA with our client. So chances are we may breach it by losing this data, but the real custodian is the insurer. How does the law come after me if I do not have a data protection officer?
Very, very good question. So I think it generally goes to, so this requirement of DPO, it doesn't just apply to organizations that collect data. It also applies to people who are processing data, which in your case, you are the processor of it, right? Because you are the one that will channel your personal data to insurance. So in that sense, if you're asked, do I need to appoint a DPO? If you met the requirement, yes. But if then asked, so by December, if I don't do anything, what happens, right? So again, what from my conversation with the regulator is that they are taking more of a, I would say, passive stance, where in the event, say, you know, if they are breached, or if they have received a complaint from a customer, and when they investigated you and realized that, oh, look, you do meet the threshold, right? But yet you didn't appoint a DPO. That's where, again, that's how it will lead to the subsequent detailed investigation. Would then deduce what is your breach amount, right? But generally, just I wanted to share as well, we got a lot of clients that come to us because the regulator has been very active in doing audits, right? And what I'm saying is it doesn't just apply to clients or companies in KL Selangor. They have been doing audits outside of it. I have clients from JB, I have clients from Sabah, where they are being audited, right? And how the audits are sometimes very ad hoc as well. So you never know what's going to come, right? So in that sense, it's good at least, I mean, it's just having a DPO. It can be an internal employee. You might as well just register, right? But again, like I mentioned earlier, it's like having a DPO is step one. The other components is the tougher puzzle that we need to figure out because, as I said, the law has been there for a very long time. It's just that now there is a requirement for a DPO, right?
So I have another question for Horn. You know, Horn, you showed your 2 certificates from NACSA. You're certified for pen test or whatever. So I imagine I come to you and say, do my pen test of my system in BAC, and then suddenly one day somebody breaks in. you said, no, everything's okay, Mr. Thileraj, everything's good, your system is great to go. And then next day, I get broken in somewhere. So how do we ensure, you show a cert, that's good, but how do we cover ourselves? Because we trusted in you to do our pen test, and not just you, but any of the companies who have been doing all this security testing. But how do we trust those companies? Because they could do something, and tomorrow we get screwed if things get the vulnerability in the system and we get hacked, to see whatever. So how do you handle that from your angle?
From a supplier point of view, of course we can never dare to guarantee that after we done the pen test, you will not be compromised. Because according to the statistic, last year, within 1 year, there are 26,000 of new vulnerability. When a pen tester do a penetration test at this hour, I'll base on whatever the known vulnerability that I know I have in my signature to scan you. By the time I finish scanning and prepare the report, hours has passed. Nobody dare to guarantee is there any new vulnerability, because by theory, most likely there are new vulnerability keep coming up. So, this is one thing. The vendor like us will a professional pen tester will never guarantee you that there will be no vulnerability after that. But nevertheless, from an end user point of view, whenever I want to actually engage someone to do penetration tests, I do not want to only just trust you. I want to have someone validate you. And I'm your customer. I can't validate you.
Correct.
So I need you to show me that you have some certification. On the year-to-year basis, someone come and audit you that you have followed the best practices.
Okay.
You probably heard of these things called CREST certification, or in Malaysia there are certain certification. That means that there are also some of the corporate, whenever they issue certain tender for requirement for penetration tests, they will ask you, do you have this certification? Because I want the party to validate that in your process, your SOP or penetration test has been doing the professional way and can be audited if there is any dispute in future.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Certification is very crucial.
To follow like CREST or maybe NIST or something.
Certification for that, as well as you have to demonstrate to us your methodology in your report, what kind of, there's this OWASP checklist, all those things. So that means that you have done through thoroughly all the checklists, which is recognized internationally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So back to Dr. Suresh, same question for you. You have your level 1 blockchain, you're running it, but how sure am I that my data won't leak? Maybe it's your blockchain is leaking somewhere, I don't know. And then suddenly my data gets exposed. I have all your speakers' data in my blockchain, and then suddenly leaks out. Halim says, okay, I'm going to sue you or something. So how do you handle that? Because how sure are you that your blockchain is secure enough, and what measures do you take? Like Horn mentioned, you got OWASP, we got CREST certification. So is there something in the blockchain area we should look at for certification or something to ensure that it is secure?
Okay, at the moment comes to blockchain, there is no body that governs or provides, okay, this is a certification and so on. Of course, and masters themselves, okay, we have our ISO certification, but then comes to any blockchain for that matter, there is no right body because it's still considered new. So there's no one right body is there to say that, oh, okay, this is a certified blockchain or something like that, all right? On our part, ours is a proof of authority. So our servers are held by authority, and then it's rather than saying that your data is with us, is that hash of that data is going to be there. It's not really the data.
Okay.
It's going to be the hashing. Okay. So that means it's something like this. How we want to create it, something like, let's say someone is asking proof that you are 21 years old. All right? All the individuals you should provide is, there must be some hashing mechanism for them to prove, like, the moment you send it to them, it says, it should tell them, yes, this person is 21 years old, instead of showing which year you are born, which date you are born, which day you are born, it won't be shown. Or a doctor is asking for certain specific information. You just take out that particular hashing that only gives that relevant information. Okay, this is how the way in which we have built our chain. We actually, back in 2023, we went to Estonia to learn on blockchain space of it. So that is where we got a lot of ideas. How we want to people are trying to stop, I think, blockchain, we want to be trust, so they don't want to be trusted. Okay, so that's why we learned this is the way that we should go. So we are pretty confident that this is the way that the data will not leak. in case there is going to be a hacking in one particular server, for example, there are other servers that is holding the data where we can always retrieve, and whatever they are going to hack is going to just the hash. They will be seeing like some kind of mix of wordings which they won't know what is it about. That's how it is built. Yeah.
Okay, just before we finish, any questions from the audience? Because I've been talking all the while and they've been talking. So any questions from the audience? The mic is, I think, somewhere with Osama there. Any questions? Yeah, go ahead. There's somebody asking. Yeah.
I have a privacy question I'll address to Mr. Lim. So it's interesting that you mentioned that there's a new right of portability. I was very glad to hear that Malaysia is now adopting overseas standards as well. I wonder if you think this new right of data portability is going to enable like open banking in Malaysia. What's your insights?
Very, very interesting question, because when we talk about right to data portability, yes, it's a new right here, and yes, we are seeing it across the other ASEAN region as well, right? For example, Singapore, Indonesia, right? Singapore has it for a very long time, but again, they didn't enforce it until today. Indonesia, it was part and parcel of their newly regulated, new regulations on, they call it the PDP law, right? And then when you talk about overseas, like EU GDPR, which very well known for their right to data portability, which was enforced, right? And when we draw it back to Malaysia, if you ask me, right, how is that then tying back to the open banking? I would say that it will meet somewhere, right? Like how, because I had the conversation with one of the leads driving the open banking initiative actually. So it is, the end goal is similar to what they want to achieve, a right to data portability, where some of data can be cross-shared to other banks, loan applications and stuff. You don't need to resubmit all your banking documents, right? That is the ultimate end goal. But the question is then for the banks, when it receives such data or analysis from other different banks, their question is that, can I trust the report? Do I then need to further validate it? Right? So that's a chicken and egg story that they are solving from an open banking standpoint. Right? But going back outside, I mean, that is just based on the FSI industry. But outside of FSI, right, data portability exists as well. I can tell you, there isn't an affirmative answer, even when I was speaking to the regulator as well, in terms of how are they going to enforce it, how is it going to work for other industry. So it's something that we just need to wait and see. But what I know is that the direction that they want to take is that whenever such a request is being put up, at least at the bare minimum, they will come up with a list of data that needs to go as part of the transfer. What are the recommended file format that you can transfer to from one organization to another? I hope that addressed your question.
If you don't mind,
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
you actually can take it a step further. Beyond FSI, if you get into mergers and acquisitions, if it is a listed co, your memorandum of information is all right protected. That means each and every banks, perhaps, or financial services companies, or debt equity market, or capital market, can share that same information. That will not be the purview of Privacy Act. But if you're not a listed company, that's when the problem starts. So if I'm a private company, I have a memorandum of information which I share, so that then I can sell my company, for example. Those information must be right protected, because those information may not necessarily be sort of validated, like Hon say, or you do not have the big force, for example, to validate those information. So when it goes from one hand to another, someone may embellish it. That embellishment is data protected, rightfully. So if you take it a step further.
Thank you, Alim. Any other questions from the, yeah.
I have a question for Dr. Suresh, because you're related to blockchain, and recently Malaysia introduced the WorldCoin, which is done by Sam Altman. So actually now the number of people verified in the app is around 13 million, which means we have scanned 13 million iris. And some people even added their passport inside because now they have a new option. And this project was supported by the Malaysian government. But nobody spoke about the concern of the privacy, the security. Nobody spoke about this before, even the government themselves. They just introduce it, they endorse it, and they allow it to happen everywhere in Malaysia. They have places in Penang, KL, around all Malaysia. So what do you think about that thing?
Okay, good question. All right. Actually, it is not endorsed by the government. It is never been, the government never endorsed all this. It is just, normally the crypto site is governed by the Securities Commission. So Securities Commission just allowed the WorldCoin to be listed in one of the exchanges, that's all. Because if you see the way, the method in which that they are using, they are paying you to get your data. No doubt they say it is hash and it only remains in your phone or whatever. It is not been confirmed that surely it is going to be there. You never know about it. You don't know the complete detail of it. Otherwise, Singapore has already banned them. Indonesia never allowed them. Why? So how can you going to give to this one person the entire data? And you are in a different country, and you are going to scan your iris. Yes, no doubt they mention about, this is my own take, this is my personal take, so I'm not attacking them or whatever it is, because I have seen people promoting it for money, not really for the use case, because they say every time you bring in number of people, you get number of amount of money, you can collect it and you can get it from the exchanger and cash it out. Then what? So you go, it sounds like me more like MLM than really you want to, organize this data and stuff like that. Personally, I've never scanned my eye with them. So that's my take.
I want to ask something small. Recently also they added an option in the app. You can use that money, which is inside the app, to pay some stuff here in Malaysia. They say that they want to make it like this in every country. You can use that money inside the app to become like a centralized exchange instead of real money.
Yeah, but I don't think so they've got approval from the Securities Commission, because it has to be a legal tender to be utilized in Malaysia. Unless you are in a closed community, you want to use a token, is different story. You have a company, you have created a token. Among the company, maybe you have a cafe in this company, the company says, you can use this token in this company to buy coffee. That is okay, but not for a full utilization. They have never got any approval. Yes. Right.
You can use it in the dark web.
He said use it in the dark web. Yeah. Okay.
I hope you are clear.
Final two questions. Yeah, there's somebody out there. So can you pass him the mic, please?
Hi, thanks. That was quite informative. I know my question is more on Mr. Suresh's area, but I think anyone can answer. My question is that blockchain has been around for like over a decade, and we've been hearing blockchain, blockchain, blockchain. I know it's the underlying technology, et cetera, and the applications beyond buying Bitcoin or trading Ethereum are like endless. Like there's 1,000 other possibilities, and you're doing so many of those yourself. So my question is, like, why is it so tough for people to adapt to it? Or why is it tough for, people don't understand it, or is it dangerous, or like what is the reason why people don't adapt to it?
Okay, it's a very good question actually. It's very true. This is one of the pain point when we started Masvers, the pain point that we identified, the adoption. Why the adoption is very low? Because when you talk about blockchain is not just 10 years. Blockchain, the idea of blockchain started when cryptography started in the 70s already. Idea of decentralization started. Estonia implemented in the early 90s already. They are running the entire government on blockchain. When I go and when we went for a training, when we mentioned the word blockchain, they looked at, they said, oh, blockchain is below us. We started it first. Because the name blockchain came after Bitcoin. So what has happened, the people's perception is blockchain is, as I mentioned just now, blockchain is Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, so blockchain is bad. Okay, blockchain is for trading, blockchain. So in their mind is only crypto things comes in. And then secondly, when there is an adoption for blockchain, it also relies on the crypto that they are creating it. All right, that means you utilize this particular, for example, Ethereum. You want to use Ethereum, then you have to use Ethereum, for example. But then the problem is the price, it goes up and come down. And then small, medium enterprises, they are on a budget basis. how are they going to utilize this Ethereum into their company, and then suddenly, you know, when they started using, then the price goes up. So they cannot really budget themselves. So these are the pain point we have actually saw in the beginning when we created our master chain actually. All right. So we believe that we are doing a lot of push factor. Like for example, in Penang, you know, we already have Kementerian Sukan of Penang already utilize our blockchain cert. So far, we have issued about 60,000 certificates alone. Okay, we have a huge ecosystem we are already creating. So we believe from master chain side and masterverse, we are already creating the impact. So whatever you are saying, we believe, given us more chance, we will do more pride for the country actually. Adoption is already coming. As long we make it simple for the SMEs to go in, it's so super easy. And then previously, you need to have a lot of tech guys in particular company. I can't pay so much for the tech guy, so expensive, you know, salary and all that, and then implement blockchain. But now what we have done, you just call our API, make it so easy, you don't need to even have a tech person in your company, right? You don't need to pay extra. Just pay for the fee, which is already fixed. Okay, some transaction, your fee is already fixed. That's how we have built it, such a way. Yeah, that's how we managed to help out Lembaga Zakat Selangor also. So that's why they chose us, you know, as one of their provider. So yes, what you say is correct. People are afraid of blockchain because of this reason. But on Maswell's side, we are doing our best to push this to, as a Malaysia chain, Pride, we are pushing it into Malaysia. So probably next we'll be seeing our insurance, you know, to implement blockchain with them also.
Actually, all our certificates in BAC group, all the universities, we use a blockchain cert. So I remember, I think the story came from Mr. Rajasingham, you know, when during COVID, they couldn't give the cert, so they had it all on their phone. So I told the kids, okay, click a button, and then all the certs appear in the phone simultaneously. So we have all our certs right now on blockchain. So that's been happening since COVID, so it's quite some time. So adoption is happening, except that I think, like what you mentioned, there's some bad news, like what happened with WorldCoin and things like that, which are giving a bad view. It depends how you use it. So I think the use case need to be correct. Okay, any final questions before we finish?
Can I just mention something to him?
Go ahead, yeah.
Just to assist you, where is the rich vein? There is a business concept in this, in the adoption, which is ESG. Because in ESG, you need traceability and transparency. The technology in blockchain provides this the best way it can. So that adoption can go down that route. So if you need green funding, which requires transparency and traceability from your scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3, blockchaining your business offers that opportunity. So that adoption will come as ESG gets bigger and bigger.
Any final question from the audience? Yeah, go ahead.
This question is about the scamming and security. I just wondering the job scamming, right? It's still happening now in daily basis that you can see on the Facebook, especially Facebook. It's so obvious that the post is a scam, but it's still happening now. What is the government initiative or any kind of tools that are able to do the prevention of this scamming? You get my question? I think most probably for Mr.
Talking about scamming on social media, right?
Yeah.
So they put some false news on social media or fake news, and then how do you ensure that it's not fake? Is that what you're saying?
No, it's more like job scamming, like people.
Oh, job scamming.
Like
okay.
traffic to the Myanmar or Thailand, and then they're stuck there. So every day, in daily basis, there's so many that kind of like Facebook, social media, those advertisements. It's so obvious that this is a scam. It's like you have zero experience. You work from home, you get something like 100 per hour. It doesn't make sense. It's very obvious it's a scam. When I captured that picture, I asked AI, 90% is a scam. It's so easy, but Meta never done anything and government never done anything. What is the government initiative like fighting this kind of scamming? According to some documentary, scamming business can be 100 times more benefit than you're doing drugs trafficking. It's 100 times. If Pablo still exists today, he would quit his drug business and doing just scamming. Yeah. That's my question. What is
Actually, there is already a scam prevention center in Malaysia. by the government. Exactly which government or
Yeah, the
agency?
MCMC.
Yeah, I think it's already
MCMC.
MCMC. That is, they are doing it. I think at the end of the day, the scammer are exploiting on the weakness of human on a few things. Number one, greed, and ignorance. Things that are too good to be true, that is very obviously is too good to be true. That means it's probably a scam. I think the education they are doing it. Actually I saw that those are advertisements by the government. It's just I think maybe some of the younger people, job seeker, they are too engrossed into believing they are the lucky one who got such an offer. Other than that, I think this is not a Malaysian problem. I heard from other countries, even Hong Kong, Taiwan. Actually, I heard all these cases that are actually happening where people were being scammed to go to some of the border in near whatever Myanmar, Cambodia, and they start doing all the scam calls. So it's a common problem, not in Malaysia but everywhere. It's general human greed and ignorance. The government is doing something which I have seen some of the advertisements here and there.
But the scammers get smarter and smarter, so you need AI lah. So it's never ending lah, you know. Okay, anyway, I'd like to thank the speakers, Melbourne, Halim, Suresh, and Horn. Can you give them a big hand? I'd like to thank everybody for coming today. We have these talks, you know, every once a month. Next one, there's one on digital finance coming up, talking about fintech and digital finance. We're having a talk on that. We have 4 great speakers coming from, I think, Stashway, from Eon, Digital Bank. We'll send it to you, the flyers. So there are 4 speakers coming in next month. So please be tuned in, you know, and please come for the talks, you know. And we also have some programs going to come up soon on DPO. Our trainer is there. The guy sitting with the blue turban, you know, they call him ZZ Top, but he doesn't have a guitar, unfortunately. So he's from Singapore. He's our trainer for the Data Protection Act, which is soon be offered also next month. So tune into it. I'd like to thank everybody for coming. Thank you very much.
Thank you once again, Mr. Tilai, and all our brilliant speakers and engaging discussion. For this engaging discussion, sorry. That brings us to the end of today's Tech Talk on cybersecurity, resilience in the era of digital transformation. Before we conclude, we would like to invite all our distinguished speakers to join us for a group photo with our participants. Please make your way to the designated photo area, which is in front here. If it's possible, everyone please come in front and gather here, and then we will sort. Oh, sorry. So everyone sit in the center row.
Students on the back row, please come forward. Fill up the front seats, yeah? You all don't want to take photos?